I probably went from like because I was like 240-ish probably before I hopped on.
Oh, you look amazing as it is.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
You're 235 and you mentioned that you came off stuff years ago. Like what was that experience like? Was that
it was actually not bad.
Tough? Like
no. I think when I first got into psychedelics in general, I was like age 29. When you're breathing, you're moving a lot of energy around. So if your body stores anxiety, your body stores trauma. How can we clean this vessel every day? And that's through the breath. And it's a simple thing like, are you getting high or are you connecting when you do things? When you go to the fridge to eat food, are you getting high with the food or are you connecting?
Give us an idea of what you experienced during this breath work, because you were on a real trip over there.
I did see some like really bright like neon green colors, and I was like kind of falling back away from this hallway of like this shit. Like it just kept. I was talking to my wife and I was explaining to her about a dream I had that Nsima moved in with us.
I remember I wrote in my journal, I was like, yo, this entity blessed my balls. I was like, I think I definitely should make a baby at some point here soon. I think the best way, if you are a person out there that's looking to get into this, I think microdosing would be the best approach.
Do you feel like you needed a awakening of some kind?
How'd you guys like having the sound bowl?
That was great.
It was
wild,
incredible.
right?
Yeah, it was unbelievable.
Yeah, the sound bowls are something that's just out of this world. I mean, I never thought in a million years I'd be playing sound bowls.
I know some people immediately, once you said like vibrations, some people are like, oh, I'm out. Number one, check out Joe Dispenza's work. Check out his book, because a lot of this stuff, like there's proof behind a lot of it.
I can meditate. I do the whole breath work. And then once I ascend into that field where you guys were, then I'll visualize like literal love and light going through my leg. And my leg will literally start like full on vibrating.
It's amazing what you can give to people. Like it's a hell of a gift to be able to assist people with going through the different traumas that they have. It's unbelievable. When people show up, are they a little bit like, what? This guy's pretty jacked. Like, what's the deal? Where's the man bun?
I know, right?
So like if this right here is just an avatar, like who or what are we?
You're a soul having a human experience.
Where was this fucking information when I was a kid?
I'm sorry, I don't want to.
Oh my goodness, bro!
Is that
those are the planets being anal butt
Yeah,
plugs.
Saturn,
anal beads.
Anal beads.
Earth.
Oh my lord,
these,
bro!
Power Project first going on here today, ladies and gentlemen.
Close your eyes right now and just let it. That's nice. It continues. Cool, right? I didn't really. Yeah, that's sick.
Really cool, right?
Power Project family, how's it going? I want to talk to you guys about the best gym fits in the game. You need to head over to Vuori. People don't know how to say it. People don't know how to spell it. Vuori. But let me tell you something about Vuori. They have great clothes that you can wear outside the gym, weddings, lunches, dates. And then they have great pieces of equipment you can wear in the gym that make you look good while you're lifting. Because I know there's still a lot of y'all who are still rocking and one shorts. And although I have nothing against and one,
Gets me every time.
I have nothing against and one shorts.
Yeah.
Honestly, it looks horrible. So Andrew, please tell the people how to step up their damn clothing game.
For reals, you guys got to step up. Head over to vuori.com/powerproject. That's VUORI.com/powerproject to receive 20% off your order. No code needed. You guys will see discount will be applied at checkout, banner across the top. Links to them down in the description, as well as the podcast show notes.
Trying to find cool pictures for us or something?
He wanted to see what I looked like when I was big.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead and find it. Take a moment.
It's way down there, though.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Oh, it's on your IG feed?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just keep scrolling then.
I don't have any.
We want to be able to pull this up on screen so people can see the freak. You're still freakish right now, but $295.
Yeah, and I only sort of remember.
Yeah, I was the heaviest was $298.
Damn, why didn't you go for the 300, bro?
I tried. I couldn't get there. I was trying. I was
just a couple cheeseburgers away.
Bro, I was like maxed out. I was like, I couldn't do it anymore. I was eating, I think, like 8,000 calories a day. I was trying to like get up there, and it was awful. I felt like shit.
Let me just Google.
Wow. Yeah, I was about to ask how much you're eating.
Well, I did one year where I was like, you know what? Let's just do it. Let's see what it's about. And I was like, everybody was telling me you got to eat more, and I was like, fine, I'll do it for 1 year. Mm-hmm. And I made a point to like eat like 7,000 or 8,000 calories a day for a year, and it was the worst. My whole waist sucked.
Oh, there we go.
Everything
got some
out.
pictures here.
Oh my god, that's when I was 26 years old.
Jesus Christ.
So this was like in prep, I'm assuming, because you look like you're
this is when
leaner.
this is when I just got on probably for a year. So I was on for maybe a year at this picture.
Whoa.
Look at that fucking blue steel face.
What do you think happened? How much did you go when you first hopped on from 25 to 26? How much muscle did you gain?
You know, it was I probably went from like because I was like 240-ish probably before I hopped on. And then I got up to like 255 to 260 relatively quick.
Whew.
And, definitely I was big and I grew in some areas, but I mean, that's when I won the Ferrigno. I was 255 on stage there.
Whoa.
Holy shit. That's a pretty damn prominent contest too.
Yeah, I won that one.
Yeah, you look
Shit,
well.
that was a good
Shit, it
one.
looks like you won. You look amazing.
My backside was still a little soft. I didn't know how to like bring in my backside still. It was kind of funny.
Like lats and stuff.
my butt.
Your butt.
I mean, it was good, but you know, it's one thing
It's hard when you got junk in the trunk.
Yeah,
you know?
that's true. Well, I couldn't, for whatever reason, I was like really great at connecting to the front of my body, but I didn't learn how to train back until almost like 4 or 5 years ago when I was like done competing. I really found like the connection with back and the mechanics with my back training, and it's my favorite. I train it all the time now. It's like my favorite thing. I think my back would look way better now if I were to prep for a show.
When you say your back, you mean your back,
My
or do you mean your
literally
glute?
back.
Okay.
And my glutes as well. I think I just didn't do all the like the little stuff that a lot of these other bodybuilders were doing for glutes, like these intricate glute workouts. See, you could see smooth, completely different from the front.
Still huge, but yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, completely different from the front. Yeah.
Did you start lifting pretty young?
Yeah, I started training at a really young age. So it was funny. So I had just met my real dad for the first time when I was like 14 years old. So I had a stepdad from like 2 years old on, and me and my stepdad didn't get along at all. And so I met my real dad for the first time, and then I got into it with my real dad, or my stepdad. And I was like, fuck you. I'm going to go live with my real dad, who I don't even know. And he was like down in Florida. And so I moved from New York to Florida at age 14. And I was heavy into basketball and baseball at the time. And the coaches down there were weight training with their athletes. So I was training basketball an hour a day and weightlifting. No mirrors. It was just all like, like powerlifting stuff, benching stuff, squat stuff. And I never stepped on a scale, never thought to look in a mirror. And when I came back home after like 3 months, I went from 135 pounds to like 187 pounds. So as a sophomore in high school, I was like 190 walking around, and I was jacked. And so then the wrestling coach grabbed me. He's like, hey, come wrestle with us. And I'm like, okay. So then I kept weight training. So I mean, by the time I finished high school, I was wrestling at 217. And then, I just kept training after that. And for a long time, everyone asked if I competed. I said no, because I never saw myself putting on trunks and getting on stage. Just never saw the calling of it. But everybody kept asking if I competed. And then at age 20, I finally decided to do a show. And I won all my natural bodybuilding shows. And then I became pro natural in the IMBF and the NGA at the time. And then I obviously was watching videos of like Jay Cutler and Ronnie Coleman when I was younger. And I wanted competition. I was like, I want to go against some of the biggest, best guys in the world. And so at age 25, I drove to California, but I never even heard of the Gold's Gym or the Mecca or any of those things. And I was actually training out of North Hollywood. And they brought me over to Gold's Venice to come check it out. And I was like, oh, okay, this is my spot. This is right here. So I got in there and started training, and then did my first NPC show like a few months later, which was the Excalibur at the time. And at the time, bodybuilding was so much bigger back then. I think there usually would be like 25, 30 guys in a heavyweight class. And now there's 1 or 2 when you would show up. So, and I took third my first show, and I was really excited about that. And then won my following show, which I think was the California. And then I went to the USAs and got destroyed, which is pretty normal, I think, for most people. And then, I did a few more shows after that. Did the Ferrigno, did the LA. But I kind of like didn't really care about the actual competition part for bodybuilding. I loved the discipline of the bodybuilding. I loved prepping. I loved all that kind of stuff. But I personally didn't really care for put the dream tan on. I didn't want to go do the day of the show. I was like, so my last time I really competed, or second to last time, I remember I went and I think I was like first call outs or center call outs or something like that. And then I came home for after prejudging, and then I just like, I'm not going back. And I even called up the promoter. I'm like, hey, I'm not going back, just so you know. And he's like, all right, that makes sense. I'm like, all right, cool. And that was it. That was like the last time I kind of did bodybuilding.
Done at that point.
Well, yeah, I think I came back like 3 years and just did the Ferrigno for fun because Louis was my friend and he's like, you should come do the show. And I'm like, all right. And it was like the best show I ever showed up as. I think it's because I didn't care really. I didn't put too much pressure on myself.
You mentioned that nowadays you fast. Do you think a high level bodybuilder could utilize some intermittent fasting in some way?
I do, actually. It's funny. I think I would approach the game completely different. I mean, obviously you don't know how they're going to reward your look, you know, because it seems like they like that mass monster stuff. But I think what I always wanted to look like was more of that 80s physique, that aesthetics physique. And I think for sure I would eat way less food. I think more quality over the quantity. And I would actually fast quite a bit to keep my waist nice and small. I mean, right now, like I said, I really don't try to be big, and I eat pretty minimally, and I'm able to hold on to this size. So if I were to just eat a little bit more and train probably a little bit harder and make it about bodybuilding, I could probably put some good size on and look really good, I think, and probably sit around like 240, 245 again if I wanted to without consuming all that food. And
you look amazing as it is.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
You're 235, and you mentioned that you came off stuff years ago. Like, what was that experience like? Was that
it was actually not bad.
Tough? Like,
no. So I'm a big mental person, you know. So first, I think I accidentally did it a really great way. So at age 30, I got off like all the heavier stuff. So from like 26 to 30, I was trying to be a big bodybuilder. And then at 30, I was like, I'm pretty much done with this stuff because I didn't think it was safe or healthy. So I just got on TRT and I was doing the 1cc a week with TRT for quite a while. And then it got to the point where I just hated putting a needle in me. I just could not stand it. So it would end up being like I would do a shot and then like 2 weeks would go by. And I was like, I probably should do one. And I would do one, and then like another 2 weeks ago, I probably should do one, and then I do one. And then I was like, why don't I do half a cc? So for like 3 years before I even got off, I was doing half a cc every 10 days. And then again, I went to like every 2 weeks, and I was like, do I even need to be fucking taking this? And so I just stopped taking it. And that's how I got off. And I also was getting into meditation during the same time, which was around the same time 3 or 4 years ago. And so I really got into the Joe Dispenza book about how you can like tell your body what to do, and the same thing with Wim Hof. And so I would just tell my body to create testosterone. I don't know if it worked, but I feel great. And
you said you've never gotten blood work done.
Yeah, I never got blood work done. Yeah, I've never had blood work done. My libido's great. I feel good. I feel like I've actually reversed time in a lot of ways. I feel like I look younger than I did before. And so I do meditate on that a lot. I meditate on telling my body to produce natural testosterone and raise it and all those type of things and create it with all that type of stuff.
Be jacked. Be jacked.
But yeah, a lot of people actually ask, how was it coming off? I think one of the big components that most people do, first of all, they don't want to come off when they come off. And that's a big difference. I wanted to come off. I wanted to like focus on my health. I wanted to focus on doing things in a more loving way towards myself. So
you're the first guy I think we've ever had on the show.
Yeah,
that like has wanted to come off when they've gone on.
Yeah, and I think maybe the first person that we've had on the show that like has just made a clean break from it. Period.
Yeah.
Can you think of anybody?
Gorilla Chemist? Did he?
Well, no,
he was off for having a baby though.
Yeah, that's different.
That's actually one of the reasons also why I started to come off, is because at the time when I was with Steph, we were talking about that, and I remember that's the main reason why I came off, which is really exciting. You know, I was like, I want to come off, and I really wanted to come off. And I know that a lot of people, when they come off, one, they don't want to. Two, when they come off, they actually start training less and they start eating worse. And I did the opposite. I was like, I want to come off. I'm going to train even harder, and I'm going to eat even cleaner. So I think that was a huge, huge thing for me. And that's what I tell people all the time. And then on top of that, the meditation aspect, I think, was a huge thing. The placebo effect of everything. It really definitely works.
There was that old school bodybuilder. I'll look his name up, but I think he said he came off of everything and people were claiming he's on TRT, but he's said he's not. He never got his pro card. He was fucking huge though.
John Anderson? No, I'm just kidding.
the Canadian one.
You know who I'm talking about, right?
Cap, beard, Canada, went to a porn expo with not Partlow.
No, he's definitely
okay.
No. I don't think I know any of these people.
It's okay. So What in the world did you just take us through? You took us through like another dimension. Speaking of other dimensions, let's hit up this mind
yeah,
bullet
There
here.
you go.
Give
Thank
a little
you.
cheers.
Thank you.
Kabing. Some
I
kratom.
drank
Kabing.
mine, but yeah.
Drinkers, cheers, sir.
Kabing.
I just went to another planet, so I'm good.
Right.
Hey,
Oh,
nice
whip.
shot.
The defense all around too.
Yeah. I was like hitting the rim and going around.
Yep.
Here we go. Some
That's how it
kratom down
goes.
the old hatch.
So who makes these?
I do.
You make these.
He grinds them up and
Got my kratom farm out in Dixon,
I
California.
think I do need a chaser though. Hold on.
Yeah.
yeah.
You do need a chaser.
Yeah, it's just
little-
like dirt and grass.
Yeah,
You're like,
it's a good
"Mm, okay, that's another way of earthing, I guess. Yeah, how'd you get into some of this weird meditation stuff?
Dave
Because this is
Palumbo.
not really typical.
Sorry.
Columbo.
Oh yeah,
I didn't mean to cut you off or interrupt,
Yeah.
but that
No.
he said he came off of everything.
Dave
I
Palumbo.
can't believe it. I mean, the way
Yeah.
it looks, makes
Yeah.
sense.
All right, go. Sorry.
How did I first kind of get into that? I was talking about, like, I think when I first got into psychedelics in general, I was like age 29. And the first experience was with mushrooms. And, I had a really wonderful experience. I took a bunch. I went and watched the sunset. I did have like this sky entity come down and like say what's up. I had this ocean entity come down, say what's up for a moment. I was like a baby in a womb. It was like essentially.
How many grams do you think you took?
I think I 4.5, 5.
Oh, shit. Okay.
So, and it was a really good time. And at the time, I still was very unaware of like all this and what it was. I didn't put any of the dots together again until like probably 6 years later down the road.
What does that mean?
What does what mean exactly?
Any of the doubts?
So
together?
dots, put the
Oh,
dots
dots
together.
together, okay.
Yeah, I didn't put the dots together and what was really
Gotcha.
happening. As I mentioned before, like a part of me was trying to logically make sense of like what I was experiencing, with these essential entities or these beings that would like come down and like say what's up. And as I mentioned, I thought there were just other people in the world that were just meditating at that time. We were somehow in this unique field of meditation. So that's how I logically made sense of a lot of my experiences with mushrooms, with DMT. And I wasn't meditating yet. I was actually just using psychedelics to reach that realm at that point. And then about 3 years ago, maybe 3.5 years ago, I went to Tulum. And it was quite some time since I did plant medicine. And I never worked with a shaman before. All of my plant medicines were just done by myself within my home. And so my buddy went to a person and did some DMT. He had a great experience. We were in Tulum. And I was with Steph at the time, and we decided to go check it out. And I was like, I'd never been shamaned into a DMT experience. So let's go see what that's about. And I went there, and he just did a quick 3 rounds of breath work with me. But it was like 30 seconds. Nothing really, like I thought was profound from it. I didn't really gain anything from it. Did the DMT. That was a very, 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 very short DMT trip. Nothing really wild or crazy. I walked away from it. Nothing crazy, to be honest. But then when I came home for whatever reason, I like woke up one day and I decided to just sit down and start breathing. It was kind of strange. I didn't feel like there was any influence from doing the breath work. There was no thought on it. And I started doing some breath work, and I did it for like 3 days in a row. Nothing too crazy happened. But then for whatever reason, I go into our office at the time, and I always had trouble with reading and comprehension because of my lack of focus. Because my mind was always essentially probably going all over the place. And then for whatever reason, I found myself walking into our office, and we had some books. And I don't know why I went in there, but I go in there and I just grab a book. And the book that I grabbed was Becoming Supernatural by Joe Dispenza. And I'm like, gotta go down. I sit on the toilet, take a shit, and I'm start reading this book. And I'm reading what I'm kind of experiencing these last 3 days. And then as I'm continuing to do the breath work, it's like completely unfolding as I'm reading. So it was like this wonderful knowledge kind of guiding me through what was happening. And then more entities would come down, more downloads would happen. And then I eventually found myself adding it to my workouts, in between my workouts, during my sets and stuff like
Breath
that.
work.
Breath work. I started adding it and everything. And then I was like, man, this is fucking unbelievable. Like, I'm on to something. I remember just being so excited about it. I started doing it with all my clients in between their sets, at the very end of their workouts. And then eventually they were asking if I could just run them through breath work. And so I was like, yeah, sure. So I started developing a program. And all said and done, like, that's what I pretty much do now. Like, teach people how to breathe, teach people how to quiet the analytical mind so they can reconnect to a more loving self, so they can make better decisions in their life.
When you say you used to do it in between sets, what did that look like? Because in between sets is like a minute or two, right? So what were you doing in that minute or two?
It's more so like just how I would show you guys like the and like 10 of those. And then because they're not bodybuilders and they're not power lifters, so I wasn't trying to like have these big breaks. It was more so keep them moving, keep them in that flow, keep them in that yoga. So it was like just 10 powerful breaths, and then they would get back in the set and they do the set and they come back out 10 powerful breaths. And man, they were just glowing by the end of this workout. They were just profoundly changing. They were like, you could see it in their skin, their complexion, everything, their face. And then I would have them lay down. At the time, I wasn't guiding them through any breath work, but I would have them lay down and just put some really cool, like, meditative music on. I'm like, here, just lay here and just hang out for 10 minutes. And then that's what I would leave them with. And then that was our sessions for quite a while. And then I was learning my own style, put together my own program to put myself through. And then, next thing I know, I'm leading these people through it, and it just caught fire.
I think there's something really interesting about that, like having somebody, giving them another task in between the set doesn't give them a chance to, sometimes when you're personal training, the person will bog you down with some negative stuff that's going on in their lives.
That's true.
A therapy session in some ways. And when you have them breathe and concentrate on something different, they're not going to really have that time. I think an interesting thing is I think that we feel like the only way that we can communicate is with like a lot of words. And so I haven't seen you in a while, so I'm just gonna give you tons of fucking words, dump tons of words on you. And that happens a lot in personal training sessions when you're working with somebody. If you didn't work with somebody for a little bit and then they come back into this scene, or they were on vacation, or whatever the situation is, and then it's like words. But there's a lot of ways to communicate, and there's a lot of ways for us to express ourselves.
Yeah.
So I think the breathing, like even the breathing that you took us through, for someone who's like more shy, who doesn't want to make as much noise, doesn't want to be disruptive, for them to go and make a lot of noise. Or sometimes you see a lifter who, is getting ready for a set, make some noise before they go and do their set. There's some people that would never do that. Like some people don't think it's necessary, but other people just maybe it's just not in their personality. So I think you're tapping into a lot of different things on a lot of different levels. What were some of the things that people reported back to you, like feeling in terms of feeling different from these training sessions?
I think just more focused, more present, right? I just kept them in this flow state. As I mentioned, like a lot of times you probably get it through your runs, and people fall into this flow state. People fall into it when they do their yoga, when they dance, even people do it when they play music, this flow state. And that's where we're really trying to get to, is to find that space. And most people in between sets, like you said, they kind of want to talk. They want to become distracted from whatever it is. So if I can keep them focused on the set, which is also including the breath and muscle-mind connection, and then I can keep them focused on the breath in between those sets, I'm keeping them in the very, very present state. And that's where the magic happens, is in the present moment. So that's where I try to get everybody to kind of get there. And we can use many modalities. We can use the training with the breath. We can use the cold plunge. We can use the breath work by itself. What can we do to create a level of presence so that people can really tap into a different part of themselves? And that space is just full of knowledge and enlightenment and everything. And they walk away maybe not knowing something right away from that workout, but they're more mindful as they leave my house. So when they leave my house, they're just paying attention to like whatever it is the fuck they're doing for the first time. And, instead of just going back into like the same, cycle of just being on their phone, being distracted, addicted to that, stimulated by this. And they're just kind of just sitting there for the first time. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh shit, I didn't notice that. I'm like, oh shit, I should do that, and then they start making some pretty profound changes in their life.
That concept of being present is like, I think, honestly, the overarching theme in all of it, because I was telling you asked me if I ever meditate, and I used to do meditation a lot with, I used Sam Harris's app, Waking Up, and when I would meditate, you'd be concentrating on your breath, and you'd be present concentrating on the breath. And that, it was like, I'd do that for like 20 minutes, right? But then when I got the cold plunge, well, when you go into the cold, you're immediately present. So then I just literally replaced the meditation I typically do with the cold. And doing the Wim Hof breathing in there allows me to like stay in there a little bit longer, but I am present. I'm not thinking of anything else, right? The breathing allows me to just be there, present with that. And then like you said, it's like, what ways can you figure out how to be present during your day. And that's the thing you're doing with your clients, the breathing in between sets. It made me think it's like many people don't have times during their day where they just sit down and just breathe and don't have anything else going, whether it's music or it's your phone or it's your TV or you're talking to somebody or you're listening to a YouTube video, but time to just breathe, that will make the biggest difference for anybody.
Yeah, that's one thing I really was paying attention to. I remember when I was like, I was like so addicted to, I think maybe the chase for dopamine or some form of stimulation. And I remember one time just sitting there and I was like, I was smoking weed, listening to music, eating food on my phone. I was like, bro, I'm like, you are a goldfish right now. Like, what are you doing? And then, so I was like, let's pull this away and start maybe leaning into serotonin in the present moment. So that's what I kind of started doing. That's kind of hard because if you, again, identify with the brain, you then can't be aware that your brain has having withdrawal symptoms from these stimulations, from this chase of dopamine. So that was a huge moment for me is at first I felt that anxiety from not getting the hit or chasing the hit. I felt that anxiety and it was like profound. And then at one point I almost created a story like, am I depressed or am I anxious or am I this? Because you feel it. And then I was like, wait, no, I'm going through literally a withdrawal symptom from all of these stimulations that I've been hooked on every 7 to 10 seconds. So that was a huge awareness shift that I was able to have. And then it also like took the edge off of thinking that something could have been wrong or that story that I was starting to create, which I think is happening to a lot of people. I think a lot of people are addicted to all these stimulations. And when they try to be better about their phone, they try to be better about their food, and they try to be better about their TV, this wave of anxiety comes on even more profound when they're trying to be good, but really it's the withdrawal from all of these stimulations. And so then they can possibly create a story like I'm, lonely or sad or anything. And then they go and get on some medication, which isn't very good, as opposed to,
Adderall.
oh yeah, it's like, oh, I'm feeling this anxiety. What can I do with it? I'm like, go stand in the fucking grass and to sit in the sun for 15 minutes and be present. Or if it's really hard, get in the cold. Or if it's really hard, breathe it out. So it's about getting them to lead into these present modalities as opposed to coping and masking it with these forms of stimulation, which will, again, just make you anxious again. So that's where everybody's at. I feel everybody's on this hamster wheel. They're first anxious due to whatever reasons, right? It could be from childhood trauma. It could be just from collective anxiety. It could be from, just poor behaviors. But what they end up doing is that they're anxious, then they dive into a form of stimulation to cope with it, and then they're anxious again. And this is that vicious loop that everybody's in, as opposed to being like, how can I get out of that? And that's why the breath work is cool, because you can pull yourself out for a moment and then be like, oh, damn, this is not a good behavior. This is not a good behavior. This is not a good behavior. And I even came up with a daily practice board on my fridge, and I don't have to do all of these practices or any of them. There's no pressure to do them, but I wrote a bunch of present activities or exercises down. And so like if I'm on my phone too much, I'm like, oh man, what can I be doing? And I see that board. I'm like, well, why don't you go stand in the sun for 15 minutes right now and get some grounding in and stuff like that. And I can check that off my board. And a lot of the times by the end of the day, it's like, now I'm not even thinking about the board, but I go and still like see what I did. And I'm doing like 10, 15 different things on that board. And I'm living in the present moment now, as opposed to like trying to be there. And now it's like becoming a whole new life. It's pretty wild.
What are some of the other practices though? Because like this, I think people are going to love this. Like what are some other things that allow you to just be present that people could, because like if you're trying to not do things on your phone or not watch a bunch of YouTube videos, you have to replace some of those practices when you're typically going on autopilot and doing these things with something else.
Yes.
So what are some examples of some things that people can do?
Well, there are actually a lot of fun things, and it's kind of neat because you get to start being a kid again in a lot of ways. A lot of times it's about being creative and being in the moment. Like dancing is really fucking fun. Dancing, singing, drawing, sauna work, that's fun stuff. Cold plunge work, yoga is a good one. Making love is a really profound way to get present and to be in that moment.
Hey, now.
Hey, there's a lot of really great sending love, journaling. There's a lot of really cool ways for you to, focus and be in that present moment that are really positive and full of love, and that can really just raise who you are in a vibrational way. And then the law of attraction works.
Just fucking do something different every once in a while too.
Yeah. The first part is like they can't get out of it though, right? They can't see it, so they have to zoom out. So that's why this breath work and things like the cold and stuff like that, they really can get a person for the first time to zoom out. The breath work is particularly special because, one, it gives you something to focus on, the breath, but the big one is that it cleans this vessel with the breath. When you're breathing, you're moving a lot of energy around. So if your body stores anxiety, your body stores trauma. It really does, cellular. So how can we clean it? How can we clean this vessel every day? And that's through the breath. So that's why I wake up every morning and I get first thing in the morning, I drop down to the floor and I get my breath work in. I clean out anything that's in my body. I raise my vibration. I become incredibly present, become as much love as I can. And then I go into my day. And then on top of that, I'm hitting all those little daily practices all through my day. Like, oh yeah, I have 15 minutes, go out in the sun. Or hey, go for a walk. Or hey, go get in the cold plunge. Hey, have a workout, but don't fucking go on your phone. You know, intention's a big one too. I think a lot of people, when they do things, they don't do things with intention, for one. And a lot of times when they do things, even when they work out or when they try to be successful, it comes from a place of fear and or lack, as opposed to love. The reasons why we're doing it. Most people don't work out for the love of it. They work out because they come from an insecure place and they want to be accepted. So it comes from a really low vibrational space. People do that getting in relationships. They're afraid of being alone. They get in relationships from a low vibrational space. They have children because they think they're supposed to. They get married because they think they're supposed to. And it's like a lot of people come from that space. And a lot of the things they do, become a doctor from that space. So
it can be a driver of success in some ways.
Yeah. But it's not sustainable. That's the problem.
Right.
It's not sustainable. It can work for a little bit, but it isn't sustainable. So imagine if you start operating from love. If you operate from love for all those things, that's sustainable and it's 10 times more powerful. So it's like, I really make it a point, like, and it's a simple thing, like, are you getting high or are you connecting when you do things? When you go to the fridge to eat food, are you getting high with the food or are you connecting? And so it takes intention. It's it's awareness, right? Like when you work out, are you getting high or are you connecting? A little bit of both, but
it's a great way of looking at it. You know, if somebody was just sitting there just ripping off a bong all day long, you'd be like, dude, what the fuck are you doing?
Right.
Yeah.
But like, meanwhile, we're doing the same thing a lot of times. All this just nonstop like suckling, right?
Yes. And
Suckling.
with the phone, are you actually going on there and doing your work and connecting with people on your phone, or are you just mindlessly scrolling? Same thing with your TV. Same thing when you call to hang out with somebody. Are you actually wanting to connect with that human, or are you bored and need a distraction from your anxiety? And that's where most people are operating from. So we can start setting intention by first becoming aware with forms of stillness.
And a really important thing to know is that the things that you're tangled up in, they're not going to help your anxiety. They're probably going to make it worse.
Yeah. And that's what's really cool is like, it's nice seeing my clients. They start to like zoom out and they can watch their person go to do something. And at first they get caught up in it still, right? Because it's like retraining this sentient being, this avatar, if you will. It's like you have to retrain it. So at first you gonna still get taken for the ride for a few times. You wind up, like eating all the food, and then the next time you're in the fridge and you catch yourself, you're like, hey, like, what are you doing? Like, you're not even hungry, bro. Like, close the fucking fridge and go for a walk or something. And then before you know it, you're just much more aware of how you operate, and that kind of just unfolds really nicely.
Andrew, give us an idea of what you experienced during this breath work, because you were on a real trip over there.
It was like, and what's funny is like I wouldn't say I was skeptical or anything like that. I was totally open and hoping that I would see things, but I've never experienced anything like it. So I'm like, maybe I'm not one of those persons that's gonna actually see anything, shapes or whatever it may be. But pretty quickly my hands started tingling, and I was like, well, he said this was normal, this is fine. But then they eventually just went completely numb, which was, I was like, I guess that's okay too. But then the imagery started coming out of nowhere. And what was funny is the more clear it became, the harder it was for me to keep my eyes closed. I literally was like squinting, like trying really hard, and my eyes they kept opening. So it's like,
you feel like your eyes are going to the back of your head?
No? Not that. It's just, honestly, dude, like there's a huge part of me that was like still fighting it.
Yeah.
My physical being was like, nope, we don't want this right now. And it kept opening.
Yeah.
But I somehow kept coming back to a single leaf, like just sticking up in like a fucking big forest of shit like behind it. I don't know what was behind it. It was blurry, But one leaf just kept I just kept coming back and seeing this leaf. I was like,
It's interesting. I wonder what'll come to you as something later.
Yeah,
like, what does it mean?
I don't know. And then I did see some like really bright like neon green colors, and I was like kind of falling back away from this hallway of like this like it just kept going and going. I was like, whoa. And then like I don't know if I started to fall asleep or what was going on or where I was. I was not in this room, but I was imagining, I don't know, I was talking to my wife and I was explaining to her about a dream I had that Nsima moved in with us. And my biggest concern was like, is he going to be as messy as he is in the studio as he is here in the house, and like trying to manage that, right? Like, so I'm pretty sure that's a manifestation of like, hey, let's clean this up and like try to deal with this. But it's so funny good. Because like, oh shit, I was dreaming. But in my dream state, I was explaining how I had another dream. So like literally the definition of inception is what I experienced. And then real quickly, the other part is I didn't realize it was 55 minutes.
Yeah.
You could have told me it was 20 and I would have been like, yeah, that was a solid 20-minute session.
Yeah.
It was wild.
Yeah, it's crazy how it flies by, right?
Yeah.
No, when you said it was 55 minutes, it is wild because like when people smoke weed, they talk about time dilation. Like time feels like it goes time feels like it's going much, much slower. You know what I mean? Even though it's going normally. So this really felt like time was moving super fast, even though we were there for a long ass time. All I saw was black, by the way, people. I didn't see anything. It felt amazing. I didn't feel like I was in my body, but I didn't see anything, which is cool. I don't mind that.
That's typically my experience too. I don't see many colors. I mean, I've definitely have some wild ones with entities and shit coming down. And I mean, I had one really wild experience. One time I was meditating and there was like this white light that came, like spherical white light. And this was like about 3 years ago, right when I was kind of really getting into it. And it felt like it like pressed me into the floor. Like, you know how your hands felt really heavy for you? Well, it felt like it pressed me into the floor, and it felt like whatever it was like scanning my face. It got really, really close. It was like almost scanning my body. It works its way down my body. And then it got to my balls. And all of a sudden I felt this energy go through my groin up into like my abdomen. And it was like, I remember I wrote in my journal, I was like, yo, this entity blessed my balls. I was like, I think I definitely should make a baby at some point here soon. But yeah, that was like a thing that happened. I literally wrote it in my journal. I'm like, something came down and blessed my balls. It was really wild. But yeah, really bright white light and like scanned me. So some wild shit can definitely happen when you do this stuff.
We were talking about like time, the 55 minutes, how it went by quickly. The opposite happens when you're really mad, when you're really upset, when you have anxiety. People have reported this before, and just even somebody just going through a rough time. Somebody says like oh man, that was the worst, and they'll say year, but they might have only been going through it for just a handful of weeks, but it just seemed like it ruined the entire year. Because when someone's anxious, that's kind of they start to focus on that and try to fill in with a lot of other things that maybe aren't helpful, alcohol and other
Everything
drugs.
slows down.
I think, being intentional, it does slow down for sure. I think being intentional and it's not an easy thing to do, but being intentional and starting to look into other options. Like, what are some other options? Like you mentioned some psychedelics.
Yeah.
They can be good options
really
for a lot of people. And I think some people laugh and they're like, oh, it's funny, it's silly, it's going to get high or going to get fucked up or have some weird mushroom experience, which happens all the time, but it can be really beneficial, right?
Yeah, I think if you break it down, what like psychedelics do is they put you in a present state, right? And so you can take a little bit and they can make you just a little bit more present, a little bit more mindful, a little bit more love, a little bit less ego, a little bit more peaceful, and you can go about your day. And then from that present space, you can become aware of your behaviors that are fucking you up all the time. So, and then if you do a bunch, you can go really, really inward, obviously a much, much more present state, and do some serious work in that direction as well. I think it's a wonderful way to kind of introduce a lot of people into this space in a lot of ways, because sometimes the mind is so gnarly and it won't let them sit still in any way. I think breath work outside of plant medicine is probably the two best ways to kind of reach that state. A lot of people try to meditate and they just try to sit there and shut their brain off, which is going to be really impossible. So I think mushrooms and psychedelics in general are literally that tool to do that, to help us become self-aware. And that's what Terence McKenna was all about with, the apes going through the savannah and picking up fucking mushrooms out of fucking dung and eating it. And then they're looking at their hand for the first time.
What a cool movie that was, right? Was it a magical mushroom or something? Or
which one was that one?
That was pretty damn cool.
Was it
Who's
Fantastic
Terrence
Fungi?
The fungi, yeah.
Terence McKenna was he wrote Food of the Gods.
Okay.
And it's all about mushrooms and the history of mushrooms and his theory of human evolution and stuff.
If you look him up, man, there's a lot of cool stuff.
And then I think it's Paul Stamets who did Fantastic Fungi.
Okay.
So yeah, both the book that I'm reading with Terrence is a really hard book, though. I do it on audio and reading because it's pretty dense and kind of boring, but it's a lot of good information.
Yeah, it looks like DMT, the spirit molecule, was Terence McKenna.
That's another good one too. I haven't gotten
how dangerous is some of this stuff?
So far, unless you're a person who is completely unaware that you take psychedelics, I think it's the only time it maybe could be dangerous because it is a powerful hallucinogen.
Somebody just laced something with it, or
yeah,
something.
or just even a young mind. Say a person doesn't have any intentions why they're taking psychedelics, and they take a bunch of psychedelics and say they have a lot of fears. And so if you have a lot of fears and you have these fears playing in your head while you're on psychedelics, they can be a really bad time.
Yeah.
And so I think if you're a conscious person and you're aware that you're doing this work with the medicine and you want to look at your behaviors as opposed to kind of being thrown into them, I think it's a much better approach. Set and setting are important, and a loving setting where there's good energy around, and as opposed to just taking it and going to a nightclub or something like that, and you're just, that's not a good idea.
Is it a good idea to maybe let someone know, hey, I'm gonna
Yeah.
do these mushrooms, here's where I'm at, type of thing?
I recommend if you're going to do them and you would like to really do them to understand the proper benefits of them, do them with a guide or a shaman. I think those are really good ways to kind of get into it. I never did that, but I was lucky enough to where I was in a good space, I think, mentally and physically as a person. I wasn't afraid. I think fear is a big component when you're doing these type of things. So if you have any fear within you and you're uncertain and you take these type of medicines, it can be a tough situation possibly. But if you're a person who wants to take them to heal, wants to take them to learn, and you are a little nervous, you can have a guide or a shaman be that person who holds space for you in case you have the idea that you might freak out and that something's there to help you. That's all you kind of need. It's almost like the placebo effect. There's a person in the room that is going to keep me safe, and that keeps them safe. It's not even the shaman really in a lot of ways, or the guide. It's just the idea that somebody's there.
And the first time I did mushrooms, I was very scared, but I did it with a group of people, and a lot of those people were already they've done mushrooms. You're just a group of friends. We went out to a beach, and they already had experience with it. So everyone I knew was oh yeah, it's gonna be fine. So everyone was chill. No one was partying or anything, but it was with the group of people that were chill, that also have done it, and that when I was oh shit, they're you're good, dude. So it is good if you have someone that is good people can make that experience so much better.
It's kind of great. No one can do anything no one can do anything other than just reassure you that you're okay.
You're not gonna die.
But dude, you're good. You're breathing, you're set, but no one can really do anything for you.
Yeah, I think the best way, if you are a person out there that's looking to get into this, I think microdosing would be the best approach. 0.1, 0.2 gram. And do it with breath work, or do it by going for a nice long walk out in nature, or watch the sunset, do something earthy or grounding. It's going to be very, very subtle. It's just going to make you a little bit more peaceful, a little bit more present. And from that, you're going to find some awareness. You might walk away with something, and that'll feel really nice, because a lot of people are struggling from an over-analytical mind, from an overbearing ego, and their fears and insecurities are what's driving them all day long. And so how can we just quiet that down a little bit? And a microdose is a wonderful way to kind of get into it. And then eventually, when you feel more comfortable and you know what it feels like, and you know what this stuff, you can do a little bit bigger dose and do the same thing. Go watch a sunset, maybe just lay down in a nice comfortable room, have some fresh fruit ready if you get hungry or some shit like that, and just have a good time, a good playlist.
Do you feel like you needed a awakening of some kind? I've known you for a little bit, but we don't know each other, and I just see you, in passing at Gold's Gym years ago, and more recently we just have minimal contact, via some DMs and stuff like that. It seems like things go well for you. You seem like you're at peace, like in general. You've always kind of seemed that way, but do you feel like I guess you sought these things out, and what do you think you were searching for?
I don't think even though I was having these experiences, I was still very much unaware in so many ways. I would have the experiences, but I didn't look into them. I didn't really think much of them.
When you say experiences, do you mean like mushrooms, DMT, or
all
do you
of
mean
it?
Like
all of it.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, up until like 3 years ago, that's when I actually became aware of self, right? Because like my definition of true self-awareness, and I've mentioned this before, is understanding that you're not the person, right? This is just my personal belief that you're not this sentient being. You're not this avatar. So you are a soul having a human experience with this sentient being. So that's my definition of self-awareness. And I didn't become self-aware until probably like 3 years ago, I would say. I became aware that like, oh my goodness, I'm a soul having a human experience, and what's that all about? And then I went into that realm with that understanding, and it really allowed me to expand my consciousness and knowledge and how all of this works and how I can retrain my brain and retrain my person. And I look at it from a zoomed out lens, where before I was having these amazing experiences that were full of love and I was learning, but I was just kind of like going with it. I was like a kid almost, I was just like in the moment regurgitating anything that came to my mind and like just like leaning into it. I remember even like before I even got into breath work, I would like random shit I would like just say in my household. I woke up one morning, and it's funny looking back on yourself that wasn't aware when you are aware, and you can kind of see like these key moments where like there's something like coming through or speaking up. And I remember I woke up one day and I get into the bathroom, like looking at myself in the mirror, and I'm like, it'd be a good idea. And Steph was like, what? And I'm like, probably smart to like take some heavy, deep breaths in the morning or something, like first thing when you wake up. And this before any breath work was out, Wim Hof wasn't around. And I'm like, I think that'd be smart. And she's like, really? I'm like, yeah. I mean, we probably don't use parts of these lungs a lot of times that are like kind of like stagnant and all like shriveled up and shit. Like we probably should be like expanding them and just doing some heavy breaths. Of course, I didn't start doing it then, but it was just like these unique things that come through sometimes. And if you're paying attention, maybe you'll lean into it. Other times, maybe not. So, I saw a lot of those type of things happening as I was unaware through my life, and that eventually got me to this awareness.
I'm curious about this. Like, have you always, even when you were a teenager, young adult, have you always been kind of like a chill dude? Or, yeah? So you said that there was a point where you almost told yourself, like, maybe I have anxiety. Was breath work the catalyst that kind of adjusted you and helped you get through to being present, or was it the DMT experience you had earlier? So
when I actually had anxiety, I would say for the first time, it was actually like pretty recently. I don't think I really had it before, to be honest, or I didn't know maybe what it was. When a smoker smokes, at first he could feel the poison of the cigarette, but then after a while, like the cigarette feels very normal.
I smoked a cig, so
I think that's what like anxiety feels like for a lot of people. Like they're so in it, they don't even know they're anxious. So I think there could have been some of that in my life without realizing it, but I don't think I really struggled with anxiety for the most part. When I struggled with anxiety for that moment, and it really only lasted for a brief moment, is when I made the move to Texas. So me and my former wife separated. So that was a big change. I moved to a whole new space, whole new state. That was a big change. I was changing careers in a lot of ways. I was going from PT work to providing breath work. That was a whole new thing, new community, new people. Didn't know anything where anything was. And so I was distracting myself way more than ever. I was on my phone more. I was trying to actually like work more for the first time. It's like, I really don't try to work. Work just kind of flows in. And so I was like trying to work. I was trying to do this. I was like working out more every day. And I was like, this is so strange. Like, what am I doing right now? Because I had all this extra time. And I didn't know what to do with it. So then when I did that thing where I like put away the phone, I wasn't going to be in the fridge. I wasn't going to just call these people to hang out and just fill a space. And I felt that anxiety. I was like, whoa, I'm like, what is this? And like I said, at first I was like creating a story. I'm like, am I a depressed individual? And then I was like, no, you're just having withdrawal symptoms from all this stimulation, man. And you need to like give it a rest and chill out for a second. And what can you do? And you already know you could do your breath work. And that's when I came up with my daily practice board. I was like, what can you do outside of your breath work, right? Because a lot of times you can do the breath work and still fall into the old behaviors, and that can kind of take some time to like really change your entire paradigm. But the board really helped. It, like, instead of being on my phone, I'm like, oh, there's a daily reminder real quick. I'll go for a walk real quick around, without my phone, and really pay attention to like the trees and shit like that. And I noticed right away, I'm like, oh, I'm just having withdrawal symptoms from my forms of stimulation. I don't actually have anxiety.
Mm-hmm. The anxiety thing is really interesting to me because the practices that we talk a lot about walking. We talk a lot about trying to stay present. We've introduced the cold. That's a new thing for us. But we've also really been talking about breathing a lot on the podcast. And I do find it kind of crazy, especially since, we brought Patrick McEwen onto the podcast about 4 years ago. He wrote The Oxygen Advantage. And switching the way we breathe, you know what I mean? To doing more nasal breathing, calming down, switching that, even for myself, allowed me to calm down a lot. And I've always been pretty chill. I've never been really erratic or whatever, but even just focusing on nasal breathing and relaxing allowed me to be a more relaxed individual with everything that I did.
Everything else, yeah.
But it's so wild that this one thing is something that when you walk around and you watch people breathe, a lot of people are breathing up here.
Yep.
And when
shallow breaths.
When you understand what shallow breaths do and how it taps into the sympathetic nervous system and just innately makes you more, if something happens, if I were to go like that at Mark and he wasn't relaxed, he'd be like, oh shit.
Right.
But the person being more relaxed, like things that would typically get to them don't get to them. And it's a simple fix if you could just focus on nasal breathing a little bit slower. That thing that you do all day long and when you're sleeping, if you just switched a little bit, so many things in your life and the way you handle things can be switched around.
Yeah. That awareness shift just with all things is the biggest step for a lot of people. Most people, nobody's driving the car. Nobody's driving the avatar. The avatar is literally doing its own thing. It's deeply conditioned. It's trained to do all these poor habits and poor behaviors, and nobody's driving it.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times when they finally start doing this type of work, a driver finally starts getting in that seat and starts taking the wheel and starts finally changing the tires and changing the fucking windshield washer fluid and giving it a wash. Because up until that point, that thing's just fucking run ragged, and it's bad, and it's nice to see people finally start taking the wheel in a way.
I like the idea of breath work, especially as it pertains to meditating. I think for some people, people have tried meditation before and maybe it doesn't vibe well with them, or they don't like it for whatever reason. They have a hard time just kind of
getting still.
But I've noticed the cold plunge has been a great form of meditation.
Yes.
And I've always thought that maybe it's my excuse for like not sitting down and like meditating in a traditional way, but I always thought there's lots of ways to meditate.
Yes.
So I consider like some of my walks and some of my runs and some of even just training in general.
Running's a big one for a lot of people.
I kind of consider it to certainly have a meditative effect in some ways.
I think if whatever's present is meditating, right? If you were in the present moment all the time, you wouldn't have to meditate.
Right.
That's true.
Yeah,
Right.
Sometimes when I'm running, I'm fucked. I got nothing else to think about other than like, man, you better focus on your breath.
Yeah.
Because this is getting to be pretty hard.
Yep. Yeah. So anytime that you're present is a form of meditation. So you're exactly right. And whatever those things are, that's why that board is so nice. Like if you're authentically dancing, if you're authentically painting, if you're focused on something, that is a meditative state. That's a great way to look at it. If you're in the present moment, you are meditating.
It was also interesting, like using sound. I think there's certain things that it's hard to sometimes identify what's real, and when you start to talk about conscious and unconscious and some of these different things get to be kind of confusing. But sound is like there's something to sound that's a little different, and there's something to pain, which pain is an interesting one too, because one person can have tons of pain from something in particular, and another person cannot experience the same exact thing. Pain is a hard thing to try to figure out in some ways, but I think pain and sound are things that are like easier to identify as being real.
Yeah, I like sound. And how'd you guys like having the sound bowl?
That was great.
It was
Wild,
incredible.
right?
Yeah, it was unbelievable.
Yeah, the sound bowls are something that's just out of this world. I mean, I never thought in a million years I'd be playing sound bowls. throughout the week for my clients, in a room. And it's just like now, I mean, I wish I could have all 7 for you here.
You need like a drum setup and stuff too now,
So that's actually funny. I'm actually getting this table created. That's a table that I stand inside of. It's a hollow table and it's a lazy Susan table. And so then I can have all 7 bowls and I can just turn it so I can play all
like
of
a
them.
fucking DJ.
Yeah. So
I love it.
That's what I'm getting made, so I can really host and play for quite a few people. My goal is to really start playing for some large groups, because if you imagine you get 1,000 people breathing like you guys did, and Joe Dispenza gets into how all this is measurable, like this frequency, this love frequency is measurable, and so when you do this type of work and you raise this type of energy and these vibrations, you can do some miracle stuff, like people curing of cancer and people walking that haven't walked in forever, and eyesight stuff, like Jesus stuff. So it's like really far out amazing things that people are able to do through the power of the breath, through the power of like just raising their vibration.
And before, I know you're about to say something, Andrew, but because like I know some people immediately, once you said like vibrations, some people are like, oh, I'm out. Immediately people start thinking this is super woo stuff, but I would really implore you to go, number one, check out Joe Dispenza's work, check out his book, because a lot of this stuff, like there's proof behind a lot of it. Like there's a lot, and there's been a lot of studies on the stuff that he talks about. So as ridiculous and wild as some of the things sound, like, we've even gone into like he talks about the power of what people believe, and even that in of itself is like something that changes the way that people go through life and the things they do. And it's not woo. You just gotta be a little open to it if you're right now super skeptical.
Well, I think a lot of times most people are predominantly like left brain, right? Which is the analytical side. It's like the part that can't believe in any type of magic whatsoever. And men are often mostly left brain individuals, so it's a little bit harder to get them to kind of like get into this kind of work. Also, the entire system is all left brain. School is left brain. They take kind of like a lot of the creativity out when we're kids, and they put us in these unique schoolings and stuff like that. And so that our right brain kind of loses its magic and its understandings of like a lot of this potential woo-woo-ness and all this beautiful stuff, because we just don't work that part of our brain in a lot of ways. So as you start to do this type of work, you'll see that you're going to become more creative. You'll see this stuff being more magical and not so weird. It just takes time to start using that other side of your brain in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I did have a question about like the cold, but before that, would it be okay, like when we end the show, if you could play the bowl like on air? I think that'd be pretty sick. I'll open up your microphone and then people will be able to hear it, because that shit felt. I mean, it was cool. Like some of the visuals would actually kind of like go with like what I would imagine you turning the bowl.
Yes.
Like as they got closer to me, those I don't even know what they were, but the things that were passing me got thicker as the sound got louder, and then as it got softer, they kind of went small, and then it just kept doing that like back and forth, and it was, I don't know, it was freaking awesome. But in regards to the cold plunge, I kind of feel like when I get in there, and it can even be for 5 or 10 minutes, but when I come out, I feel very similar to like what we just experienced as far as like I say I go in there, like I'll say I'm stressed just because to give people an idea, even though I'm not really that stressed, but like I'll go in there, I'll be stressed, and then in the middle of it, I'm like in a lot of discomfort. I'm trying to do the breath work, and then I'm okay with it, and then like a weird sense of euphoria comes over me where I'm like, I did it, like we're here, like we made it. I did something that a lot of people wouldn't want to do, and then when I get out of it, I'm like more vibrant, I'm happier. We'll talk about like episode titles or something like that, and then I'll jump in the cold plunge, and then I'll jump out, and I'll come up with a really good title for an episode. It's just like stuff just starts coming to me out of nowhere. So what's going on there? Is it just because it's really hard and I'm happy that I got out of there, or is there something else going on?
Well, that kind of gets into like Joe Dispenza's work and what he calls the quantum field, right? So if again back to like my definition of self-awareness, that your loving awareness, or AKA consciousness, having a human experience. So if everybody can tap into this oneness, this field, right, which he calls the quantum field, it's essentially where you can get enlightenment, ideas, downloads, if you will. So when you get quiet, really, really quiet through some of these modalities, you then can connect to this quantum field, and then you can receive an idea or a download, and it could be towards your profession, it could be towards your personal life, it could be towards just self-development. Whatever it is, maybe you can set your intentions, you can manifest there like we were talking about, you can heal your body in that same space. So there is this field essentially that you can lock into through forms of stillness, meditation.
Mm-hmm. Can we get into the healing your body part?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. So like a lot of times, and that's where I got from Joe Dispenza too. He's pretty much, I think, been more so my guru in a lot of ways, him and Ram Dass. So Joe, like he obviously, I've seen some of the stuff where he's healing like people with cancer. He's healing people with some really hard diseases and injuries and stuff like that. So I actually I use it to heal my body. A lot of times, if I injure it during like a training session, like if I pull my quad or something on squats or something, and I can meditate. I do the whole breath work, and then once I ascend into that field where you guys were, then I'll visualize like literal love and light going through my leg, like just like swirling all around it. I just visualize it, and my leg will literally start like full on vibrating, just vibrating and vibrating and vibrating, just like how your guys' hands were. And I'll just keep visualizing it and visualizing it and visualizing it. And I noticed the more I believe I have this capability, the faster it heals. So it kind of correlates with my faith in a way, or my belief in a way, like in my power, I guess. So if I don't believe it, it doesn't work. If I believe it, it seems like I can heal it almost immediately in some cases. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's pretty amazing. Mm-hmm. You can do a lot from this field. Like I was telling him, you can manifest from this space. So the way I actually get work in a lot of ways is in this field. So I'm all about helping people. That's what I love to do. I love to be of service, and I love helping people understand what it is, what we're talking about. So I a lot of times when I do my breath work, one, I clean my body just through like a visualization. I like clean, another woo-woo thing, my energy centers. I go through my energy centers and I clean them with love and light. And then I then tell the universe to let them know that my heart is completely open and I have lots of love. And if there's anybody out there that needs help or needs, just some guidance, like send them my way. I can hold all the space. And I say that when I'm in this field, and then people come. Mm-hmm. And it's just how it works. That's how and I do that. I never have anything on my schedule pretty much from week to week. It's a whole flow type of work environment that I have. So like when I make sure I just meditate every day, and then when I meditate, like 2, 3, 4, 5 people end up hitting me up and they want to work together and link up, and then I do it again the next day. And it's funny is the only time that I don't actually get my workflow is if I'm not aligned, if I'm not capable of holding the space, mm-hmm. and I'm not actually, there. So that's what's really neat. It's really cool. It's actually, it's hard for me to still sometimes believe it. Like, how does it keep working? How does this keep working? And I start cracking up, like, how does this keep working? Me being able to manifest these wonderful people in my life, manifest income, manifest and fix my body, all these type of things. And I'm just meditating in the morning and making this stuff happen. Yeah, it's really, really cool.
Power Project fam, this episode is brought to you by Vivo Barefoot Shoes. We've been wearing these shoes for almost a year now. They're flexible. They have a wide toe box. They allow your feet to get connected to the ground, and they will make your feet stronger. And they don't look like shit like a lot of these other barefoot shoes. Andrew, how can they get them?
You guys got to head over to vivobarefoot.com and at checkout, enter promo code PowerProject to save 20% off your entire order. Links to them down in the description, as well as the podcast show notes. Let's get back to this video.
It's amazing what you can give to people. Like it's a hell of a gift to be able to assist people with going through the different traumas that they have. It's unbelievable. When people show up, are they a little bit like, what? This guy's pretty jacked. Like, what's the deal? Where's the man bun?
I know, right? I think sometimes maybe they probably feel that way, but I think like my presence is pretty cool, for the most part. And again, I give off, and I've been told so many times, I have this like unique vibe where people just immediately feel safe.
That's true.
When people come home, I appreciate that. Thank you. That's true. When people come over, my home is also such a feng shui type of home too. Like it's very, very welcoming. It's literally, that's why I moved. I moved to Texas to create
Andrew,
a home.
See if you can bring up the Instagram clip of his, he has a couple shots of his house.
Oh, yeah.
I was amazed at all the furniture that you guys bought. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Is that a joke because there's like nothing?
There's nothing. It's blankets and pillows, and like it looks peaceful as hell. It looks amazing.
Yeah, I don't do a couch. I don't do couches. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's amazing when like I don't even know where I got that idea from. I was gonna buy a couch when I moved there, but I was like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna first, play that. So this is what I do with my clients. I do this like once or twice a month. I hope
these are great things for people to do. Get rid of your fucking couch. You know,
bro. It's so, and no TV in the living room. No TV. Right. So like less fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
And more hanging out. You know, when I have my friends over, we all hang out. We all sit on the fucking floor hanging out. It's way more intimate. Next thing you know, you're stretching. You don't even know it. You're just stretching, hanging out with your friends, smoking a joint, relaxing. All of a sudden, you start playing a sound bowl.
there ain't shit to do, so you start talking about real shit, right?
Shit, yeah. Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah, so I set this up every month, and then that's my main meditation room. You can't see what it normally looks like, but usually that's my main meditation. It's where I meditate every morning. That's where I bring my clients and my one-on-one and stuff like that. And they come inside there. So yeah, it's really cool. Yeah, but I moved there to be able to host like this, and it's really nice having this spot that allows me to do this stuff.
Is your girlfriend all in on this stuff?
She's actually really quite special, I would say. She grew up in a Waldorf community. Are you familiar with Waldorf community?
I am, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Can you explain it?
Unconventional school.
Yeah, it's unconventional school. It's kind of similar to like Amish in a way, but like
Allows you to
super
explore
earthy.
many of your own interests within a school system.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of creativity is pushed. Like her whole family paints, brilliant painters, sings, dances, just expressive. Can like if we all got lost in the woods, she'd be able to get us out type of stuff. Can, do the
That's
fires. Great. Yeah. Like she can take a shit anywhere, no problem. It's just like, all like amazing stuff. So she actually is.
I can take a shit
anywhere
no
too.
I got that down pretty good.
But she like has this really foundation that I didn't have. She has like this really amazing earthy foundation. Her parents are tapped in. It's really wonderful. And so her meeting me is kind of funny because it's bringing her back to that a little bit. She was more so, I think, in a lot of ways, more so kind of like experiencing the other world for quite some time. Like, hey, I've been in this like this space, and I'm going to come over here to this space. So like us linking up kind of just felt really nice and really right. It was like synergistically really, really beautiful. And she's really, I love that she always asks me to do breath work. She's like, hey, can we do breath work today? Or like, hey, can we do this? And she like wants to sing with the sound bowl. So she like loves all the shit that I'm doing. Cool. Yeah, it's really nice, really interested. She's a physical therapist. She is, she's a doctorate in physical therapy. Really brilliant, awesome painter. Just well-rounded. Yeah, she's got it all.
I want to go ahead.
Go for it.
I want to rewind real quick to what you're mentioning about healing those different body parts, or like having an intention on what you're trying to, work on and heal, and then focusing on that. Because again, like I think some people are going to hear that and think it's wild, but I think for the individuals that do want to learn more about what you're talking about, You Are the Placebo and Becoming Superman by Joe Dispenza are number one really good books. But he talks about how he healed his back.
Yes,
because his back thing wasn't fake. I mean, you can talk about that.
Yeah, like so I guess what his story was that he broke his neck and his back, and it was actually like not just like a nerve or something like that. Like it was broken bones in his neck. And he was laying, I think, face down for a period of time. And he came to the conclusion, like, I can sit here and just sit here and not do anything, or I can mentally heal my neck and back. And so he went through this meditation where he was visualizing his back and his neck being rebuilt and healed. And he, without surgery, fixed his entire neck and fixed his entire back, and those were broken bones.
And it took a while. It took a few months.
Yeah, it took a while, but he just sat there and did the meditation every day, over and over and over. So there's really something to this kind of stuff. And again, like it really comes down to the self-awareness plug that I keep going with. If you truly understand that you are loving awareness, having the human experience, and when I say loving awareness, it means you're a microcosm of God. Like having a human experience, which means you have beautiful, unbelievable powers to do unbelievable things while you're here. And I know that's a far out concept for a lot of people, super far out, but I think that's where we're heading. That's what Wim Hof is able to do when he tells his body to heat up. When he can put his hand in the air and just tell his hand to heat up, that's just the tip of the iceberg with this kind of stuff. And we're seeing again with Joe where people are healing their bodies of cancer and stuff like that when they're giving love to the area. So it's all about love healing. Love is healing everything. So if you're loving awareness, you have the capability of healing everything in your body.
I believe in a lot of that. I've said before on the show that I think that every person has a divinity within them. And I don't know if there's like, personally, I don't know if there's like a God necessarily, or if there's just a God within us, or we're able to tap into some godlike feature that allows us to do stuff that we didn't think was normal.
Yeah,
where
for
we're
sure.
like, that is like some pure magical stuff. Oh, sorry. Sorry, Jesus.
Right.
I didn't want him to hear what you're saying.
Yeah, Jesus is here.
I think that's what he tapped into, right? Like Jesus was, he was the most gangster dude that figured this out. That's what I think, and I came from a very rough upbringing of Catholic church stuff. So I became very anti-God, very anti-Jesus even. Like I didn't want anything to do with religion. But then once I came full circle, understanding what this all really was, it made so much sense what Jesus was able to do. He was tapping into all of these things that we were kind of just getting into. And he was able to heal the blind literally and heal people with leprosy literally through the power of love. And I think that's where we're all really getting to. It's going to be cool. And I think as we keep elevating ourselves in this loving way, and we start acting from this space too, and then eventually creating from this space, like from this divine space, and then children will even be more profoundly powerful. They'll have more gifts than, and I think a lot of children do have those gifts in a lot of ways, but we remove the creativity from them in a lot of ways when they get older and they go through school and stuff like that. So if we enforce their creativity, enforce this, like these gifts and these godlike powers, who knows what can happen? Maybe we'll fly one day.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, you said, being present and then giving whether a body part or something love and light. So like an actual physical injury, I'm assuming you can give your mind love and light for whatever may be stress or something like that. So then is it the lack of love and light that's causing some of these issues, or is it just we're so distracted that like we're kind of messing ourselves up? Yeah,
that's what I think it is. I think it's just there's two types of people. I think there's just consciousness and then there's ignorance. And that's all there really is. So I think most people are operating from just an ignorant space a lot of times, and that ignorance is driven through the ego and insecurities and or fear. And it's going to be hard to keep your body healthy and fulfilled and full of love when you're operating from that space. And the more conscious you become, the more love you are, and then you can really do some amazing stuff.
And what about like long-term injuries?
I think all that stuff is healable. Like, honestly, obviously, it's one I'm working on right now that's actually been kind of tough is my plantar fasciitis. I haven't been able to heal that immediately, but it has gotten better. But I think all that stuff is definitely feasible. I'm a true believer in all that kind of stuff. I really do. It's just about the belief. Right. How much do you really believe it? How much faith do you have within yourself? And like I said, like a lot of times, even when I manifest things, like actual things, and they pop up in 2 days later, there is still a part of me that's like, I can't believe that actually happened, or I still can't believe it. So I know I still have quite a bit of work to do to really become a full believer myself in many ways.
Tell us more about this plantar fasciitis. What's going on?
Well, what I did is like probably most people, I was like, I'm done with the shoes, and I'm always like 100% in everything that I do. So I'm like that guy that's like going full throttle on my bare feet, and I was doing epic shit. I was like, this is great. And I was doing it for a while, and then I was doing this one exercise where it was literally like good like foot agility skills, mobility skills, and I was like hopping on one thing, hopping over, hopping down, and doing like this box drill on one leg, and all of a sudden I just injured it really hard one time, and I still like kept fucking with it and playing with it, and it was plantar fasciitis, and it just kind of stayed there. And those always take a while because like it starts to feel better, and then I'll go for a run or I'll do something explosive, and the next day I was like fucking crippled. And so I kept doing that type of shit for a while, as opposed to like, hey, why don't you like walk for a little bit and then like ease into it. It took my girl to tell me, who's a physical therapist, she's like, this is what you need to do. So she showed me a lot of really fantastic like just foot exercises, and then like really playing with like how much stress you really give it, and then back off and be smart about it essentially.
What are some of those things that you're doing to help it?
So she actually, you won't be able to see it, but like, so essentially just like pushing the big toe down and then pushing. Oh, my foot just cramped up actually. And then pushing it down like this.
Yeah, the big
and then
toe thumbs up.
Yeah, exactly, down, and then like that. And then she taught me how to spread my toes too.
Yep.
Nice.
See, I can spread them really good now too.
Look at that.
I know, right?
Strength.
That's good. And that's the Plantar Fasciitis
toe spreaders are pretty good. You got some of those?
No, I haven't.
Toe spread things, the correct toes.
Oh yes. I wear a spacer almost to bed every time with my big toe. Yeah,
works pretty good.
I like those a lot. Yeah, I got really into taking care of my feet. I do roll my feet out every morning. That's a big one. I do jump rope every day for my feet. That's another big one. And I have those bungees in my garage. You might have seen where I hop on that, like kind of, it feels like a trampoline.
Yeah, your workouts are always awesome.
Yeah,
whenever I see them, I'm like, I want to work out like that. That's why I was asking you. I was like, what is this circuit that you did the other day? I want to do that.
That's kind of fun, man. Like I've been really loving the mace work because it is meditative. It's kind of like a flow. It's a dance.
Yep.
Have you guys gotten into the mace work yet? Where you
I haven't done much of it, no.
Oh, man.
I mean, I've done a class of it before on it, but I've never... Yeah. I didn't do it like at any consistency.
It's cool once you get into it. I actually have this guy that reached out, and he's going to be sending me these custom maces and these huge sledgehammers that he welds himself. I'm really excited to get these in.
Who is he?
We should actually plug him because he's really dope. Let me try to find him real quick.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that looks great. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Man, your place seems fucking awesome.
A little playground.
Tibia going.
You looked like a baby right there.
Right?
Yeah.
Training the tibs.
Yeah, the jump rope. I've been because we've been getting into a lot of foot stuff too, man. And the jump rope has been something I've been loving
doing. Board squats. So usually every workout. Today was obviously a leg day, but every workout I always kind of open up with those key exercises: the tib bar, the jump rope, and stuff like that. And then I'll still do like some bodybuilding stuff, but like I said, the unilateral shit like that, as opposed to and that's the mace.
Nice.
Yeah, that stuff's fun.
Awesome. But yeah, who's the mace guy?
Let me find him. He was the sweetest dude too. Let me see.
What was that? What was one thing I was going to mention about what you're? Yes. With a lot of this stuff that we're talking about, though, because we bring a lot of we brought people that are super into science onto the podcast, and what they do is with everything when it comes to exercise, when it comes to nutrition, they back everything up with pure science, which is really good to understand the logical aspect of things. But I really think we don't have to live on that side, and we don't have to live on the side that's totally out there in the ethereal spiritual side. You can temper both of these. You don't want to
believe Jesus is going to save you if you just jump off the side of a building.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's a lot of these things, there's so many things that we don't understand, which is why this stuff is good, because if you can allow your logical brain to turn off for a little bit and even attempt to try some of these things, you might uncover a lot of really cool shit for yourself. But some people, and I used to be like this, I used to be so science-based, so research-based that I'd hear something, I'd be like, well, where's the fucking research to back this up? I don't see any science to back this up. This is just some person talking about this. Not worth my fucking time. And that'll close you off from a lot of stuff. So I just want to mention for these logical guys.
And I was in that same boat. I remember when I would even show up to some of these meditations when I was younger, and I was so judgmental.
Yep.
I was totally that guy, and did not have a good time. I was everything that they were singing and saying. I was not into it. Everyone's got to find their own path eventually. But
I wonder if this guy made the one that we have in the gym, because it looks similar.
Strong Grip Metal Master.
Yeah, thank you. He is the sweetest dude. I shot him a message. I just wanted to buy one because my buddy had one that he custom made for him.
That's so cool.
And so I hit him up. I'm like, hey man, I would love to get, because I want a 35-pound mace, and the one that I was swinging is a 25-pounder, and I was like, this is getting kind of easy. So I wanted to get a 35-pounder. So he's gonna make me a 35-pounder. He's making these custom fucking Thor hammers too, because you can do the clubs. The clubs are really dope too. It's a whole nother thing. There's clubs, there's the kettlebells, there's the mace work. So there's some really cool ones out there that you can.
I have
start
some
playing
hammer-like things in the gym, but I don't have any. I just have a really small mace, and that's about it.
Yeah, they're fun. They're really cool, and again, they can really get into a flow meditative state.
We do have a hammer that looks just like that one in the middle right there.
Boom.
Yeah. And that thing's 40 pounds, 50 pounds.
Oh damn, that's dope. That's heavy. That's almost, that'd be I don't think I could do that at all.
But it's got a short handle, so it's you really have to hang on to that little guy.
50 pounds is incredibly heavy. That's a heavy one. Like right now, I can probably do a good 25-pounder in one hand, and I really feel it in my my elbows after a little bit. He actually makes those ones, and he like recycled like things, and he fills those up with like water.
It's cool.
Oh,
People get,
that's cool.
Yeah,
get creative.
So
with
they're
this
really
shit.
cool clubs. Yeah, and he's really metal. You can tell. He like has some sick videos where he's like having these huge axes and like just fucking chopping shit.
You know, I think some of the stuff that you're bringing up, like some of the stuff that you have written on your like refrigerator or the list that you have, I think some of these things, it kind of remind me of just like hygiene, you know? It's kind of like you got like spiritual, mental hygiene. And I think if you think about like an average person, like, you know, how many people like are listening right now that take just a couple moments to just completely be by themselves and have silence? I'm guilty. I don't really ever do that. I do go in the cold plunge, and I guess that's the only time that I literally have to myself where I'm completely alone and I'm alone with my own thoughts. Even when I'm running, I'm listening to music or something. But that is a good experience for me. I am out in nature and stuff. But I think some people aren't even exploring some of that. So just imagine, you know, somebody listening, and maybe they don't believe in some of the woo-woo stuff, but hey, could you believe it that taking 10 minutes and being by yourself and with your own thoughts could really be productive? And could you figure out a way to do it by being intentional with breathing?
Yeah.
Because maybe just sitting there just sounds like it sucks to you for whatever reason, but maybe you can do it through some breath work.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best approach for a lot of people, because I think the reason why people can't approach this is because most people have the intrusive negative thoughts. So they're more so escaping most of the day. And they're not aware that they're escaping, right? They don't realize that every time they're going for these stimulation hits, that it's because they're anxious, and this anxiety is driven from like a really deep space of like unworthiness in a lot of ways, or insecurities and or fear. So that first set of stillness, when they try to just sit still, it's wild. So it's really great to like use the run, use the cold, use the breath, I feel, because it won't be as intrusive for a lot of these people. And they can really like kind of move in that direction, because it's sitting at first, it's still for a lot of these individuals, it's just so hard because the thoughts are just wild, like really aggressive, really negative, really, really fearful thoughts. So it's kind of nice to stack it with some type of movement, cold, or breath.
Even just laying down on the ground, you know, you might think like, oh, this pad is a little bit uncomfortable, or oh, the wrinkle in my shirt feels weird, or all kinds of things run through your mind, because as much as we want to try to shut the mind down or slow it down, it's always at work.
It's always at work.
Even when we're sleeping, it's at work.
Well, it's interesting. You know, I have this theory on the ego too. Like, so since we're not the mind, I feel like a lot of times when we operate from only the mind, and we don't know how to get out of this fear-driven lifestyle, we then manifest and create the ego, right? And the ego's built from a low vibrational place. And people have relied on this ego to protect themselves, but it's unfortunately like it stops them from actually doing great things. It's because it's coming from a place of fear. So I think that's what everybody battles with when they really start working and talking to themselves. So I always use the analogy of, or the remember that cartoon where it has the person, and then there's the devil, or the angel, and then the devil.
Yeah.
And I go, well, once you become aware that you're a soul, so the soul is the angel. The avatar is the avatar, right? And then the devil's the ego. And so that's that dialogue that you're consistently having, like, hey, I should work out today. And then it's like, start Monday. That's the ego. Like, it's like when you go to lay down and do breath work, be like, it's cold, I'll do it later. And like you get up and you do it later. And the brain has always been like relying on that motherfucker, that ego, for protection. So it only kind of knows to listen to that guy. And so he'll listen to that. Your avatar is going to keep listening to that guy all the time until it builds a relationship with this guy. And how do you build a relationship with that guy? And that's by getting present. That's by becoming love. So by becoming still. And the more you connect to that higher self, that soul, the ego dissolves. It can't exist in that realm. It dissolves. And I think Joe Dispenza mentions that too. They can see it on a brain scan that the ego, or what the ego is, or in a wavelength, literally dissolves
while they're meditating.
And isn't that what psychedelics can provide
to
too?
do the same thing. The ego also dissolves on psychedelics as well. So there's really something here. So everybody that relies on this ego and they even identify with the ego, that's who they're listening to. But that thing's built out of fear. It
makes a lot of sense. Like I think it has to do with the left and right brain, starting to
communicate,
come together and communicate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that was a big moment for me, understanding that I'm not the ego. And what's even cool too is I think you get to the point where you no longer acknowledge that there is an ego because it is a manifestation. You don't even acknowledge it anymore. Okay? You don't give it any power.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm starting to dabble with that a little bit as well. Like not even acknowledging that there is this thing that I've created, manifested within my mind called the ego.
When you say you don't acknowledge it, what do you mean exactly?
Even like say it's my ego,
Mm-hmm.
because I think the ego and the brain are the same thing, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. Does that make sense? Right.
No, I get it. So you don't separate it from yourself.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. I don't create like this whole other thing that's just a whole other thing. It's like just like the Inception thing. You can keep like zooming out. So the ego is just another thing, and maybe the ego can even create its own ego. Who knows? So it's like you start just like removing that part and just the brain.
Mm-hmm. I liked what you were mentioning earlier, right after, I don't know if it was before or after we did the breath work, but we were talking about how this stuff allows you to be present, and it actually allows you to go through your day. And sometimes you'll walk up to the fridge and then you'll catch yourself be like, wait, I'm not hungry. Why am I here? Why am I opening the fridge right now?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you really start to
zoom out.
Exactly. Because you have these routines that you'll just naturally be going through if you've built in a routine.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, you're kind of like a robot. Like you go to the fridge,
Yep.
you see that there, you take it to the couch, you eat it while watching something.
Yep.
But when you become present, you start doing some of these breathwork practices, cold plunging, etc. You're like, wait, why am I
doing this? Yeah.
Like I've been scrolling for the past 5 minutes. This is useless.
And that buffer is huge. That's when we can get a chance to kind of like, whoa, step outside of it, right? And most people right now, they don't have the capability of that buffer. They don't know how to get that just that little bit of space in between their person and their actual self.
Mm-hmm.
And if you really do remove the identity of this self, it makes it really easy to look at it from a really wonderful, objective way, and you see it as literally retraining it. Like it's like almost like a monkey mind. It's like, or a child, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And so then you can really just start like approaching it and do it through love, never shame or guilt, right? Like, so when he messes up and like does something that doesn't serve him, I can be like, well, that's okay. Let's pick ourselves up and maybe let's handle it a little bit differently, But if we identify with that self and it messes up, then we're like, I'm a piece of shit. I'm these things, right? It's like we turn on ourselves.
Yeah.
It's kind of wild. So if you can separate and then like be really kind to the avatar when it goes through a moment of like messing up, you can make some profound changes very, very quickly with many of your behaviors through just being loving towards it as opposed to like shaming it.
If we are just the avatar, who or what are we?
Can you say that again?
Sorry. So like if this right here is just an avatar, like who or what are we?
You're a soul having a human experience.
Got it.
Mhm.
Because you kept saying it, and I'm just like, well, shit, who's driving?
Yeah.
This
The
thing.
soul is. The
Okay.
soul is, yeah, which is who you actually are, which is loving awareness. That's because that's beautiful. That's where you go when you also meditate, is to that remembering that space where you were nowhere, nobody, no time, that blackness or that space where you're like, wait, where am I? That's the oneness. That's the loving awareness space. And then you you zoomed out from the avatar. And then you can like, oh, okay. And then you're like, oh, I got to retrain this motherfucker because he's like a pain in the ass right now. And I always use this analogy of like, you're the dog in the dog pound, but you're also the dog rescuer. So the dog rescue goes to the dog pound and it sees that shitty dog, right? And he's like, oh, I'm going to rescue this dog. Opens the kennel. The dog even tries to bite the rescuer. Doesn't know any better. You bring it home. It like pees on the carpet, chews on the fucking couch, pulls on the leash. And what do? Well, you have to give it lots of love. You have to feed it good food. You have to take it on long walks. You have to treat it really nice. You have to have patience for it. And that's what this is. That's what everybody needs to start doing, is they have to be the dog rescuer and the dog. And it's the same thing. You have to be the parent and the child. And you can also see it as this way. Like there's two sets of parents. There's one parent when the child's freaking out in the backseat of the car. they pull over, they take the kid and like, hey, what's wrong? You're safe, you're okay. Let me hear what you have to say. Let's feel your emotions, right? They actually listen to the child, and the other parent who gives their child an iPad. So what are you doing to your avatar? Are you actually sitting and feeling their emotions when he's anxious, when he's afraid, when he's insecure, when he's going through all this stuff? Or do you just distract him with this fucking phone, with food, with people, with drugs, with TV? And that's what people do. They don't ever listen to their person when they're actually crying out, I need help, I need help, I need help. But because they don't have the awareness that they're not the person, they can't get out of it. So that's why this shift is everything. It really is everything, I think. It's like, because you can really come outside of it. And then it's funny. It's like people, for some reason, if it's not them, they take better care of it too. It's like, you ever notice, like, you'll feed your dog the best food in the world, but you'll eat like a piece of shit. So it kind of helps, like, when you realize, like, oh, this poor person needs my love. I'm going to start feeding them really good. I'm going to take them on walks. Do you ever remember there was this clip going around, and there was this video, and everybody got it wrong. Everybody got the video wrong. And it was this video this guy made, and he said, you ever just look at your person and he said, wow, how did I end up with a person like you? And everybody took that clip and they made it about their significant other.
Yeah. So that wasn't about...
No, it was about his person.
I got that wrong. Oh, shit.
It was about his person.
Wow.
You ever just look at your person and be like, wow, how did I end up like you? I'm so lucky. You're the most beautiful thing that I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's a meme.
Yeah.
And he was talking about his avatar. He's talking about this sentient being that deserves the love, that deserves the respect, that deserves to be fed right and gone on walks and treated properly and all those type of things. So
That's some Fight Club shit right there.
yeah, man.
You know, real quick on that point, you know how everybody in the past few years, everybody's been talking about self-love, self-love, self-love. And it has gotten a little bit annoying, but in the true aspect of that self-love thing, the place where it makes a lot of like you have to agree, like, this is important, is what you just said, where people will, like, parents especially, will take better care of their children, will feed their children, like, they'll take better care of their children than they do themselves. Yeah. And partially because maybe they feel like they have a lack of time. And we were just talking about this on an episode recently, but like, if you do care about yourself, then you would try to really etch out that time to go take a walk, or even walk with your kids, or feed yourself the right foods, or do the right things for your body if you really do care about yourself.
I agree.
So that's huge.
And what's cool about that is that we do the best way to actually make change and actually show our kids like how to actually live is by leading by loving example. You know, like, your kids or watch what you do. They really, really do. And even like our women are going to watch what we do. We really set the stage for creating a space for them to be their authentic selves. And if we can lead with that, with vulnerability, with authenticity, if we can truly dance without being insecure, if we can truly do all of these things, our authentic self, we give permission in some way for our children to follow, for our women to follow. And then that's when the world really changes, is when men really fucking be their divine self.
How do you deal with bad news and or negative stress?
What I do is I more so I break it down to like how I'm feeling, as opposed to what I think. So if something's happening, I instead of like trying to like come up with what I think about it, because I think then the ego gets involved in a lot of ways, because then I'm judging. So I just try to simplify it as much as I can, and like, oh, okay, this is just how I feel, and then what can I do for this feeling, and I just tie love to it in some way. I always bring it back to love. And that's what I do with everything. I consistently bring it back to love. Like, I go through it and like, oh, okay, how can I have more empathy? How can I have more acceptance? How can I have
What about
more...
a situation like today where your flight got screwed up? Like, did that throw you off a bit? Did you get like frustrated, or were you able to kind of just like, oh, this is what I'm feeling, this happens all the time, it's part of travel?
Yeah, well, I think what I lean on to or always fall into is seeing things as opportunities, right? So like, when you ask for courage, you don't get courage, you give opportunities to display courage. When you ask for patience, you don't get patience, you get opportunities to have patience. So like, that's the type of stuff. And it doesn't mean I don't have the feeling, right? Because my person, my avatar, still has these feelings of frustration. He's pissed that he had to sit there and He's pissed. He doesn't want to fucking sit in this fucking place anymore. He wants to get where he wants to get. He's excited to do these things, and now he can't. And so I just be like, hey man, here's a good opportunity for you to practice what you preach. Here's a good opportunity for you to be okay with it. Just sit in it. And then I sit in that. I let him sit in that too. I let him feel those emotions. I don't shut him off. I don't distract him. I let him sit with that anxiousness and be like, see, it ain't that bad. And he's like, all right. I actually do talk to him a lot, which sounds kind of schizophrenic, but I feel I feel like that's the best way is actually verbal chatter with my human. I speak to him all the time when he's going through it, especially if he gets upset about something. I'm like, what's this about? Like, what is this really about? And then when I have those conversations, I can always bring like, bro, that's your ego talking. That's actually not how you feel. And then he can see it. And then he's like, yeah, you're right. That's not how I actually feel. That's my ego.
Following along with what you were just saying there was confusing for a split second. Like okay, it's a separate thing. That's very interesting.
Mm-hmm. It's really helped me. It's profoundly. It helps me become the witness, become the observer of right. Because remember, we're consciousness.
Mm-hmm. But that's a really cool tactic of what you're mentioning there. Because if you think about it, it's like you're separating yourself from the thing that's going on. Like you're like, let's take a bird's eye view of this situation rather than just being like something really fucking bad happens. Rather than just being in it, getting fucking angry, blowing up, back out. Fucking back out of it.
See it for what it is. The problem is we make it about us. The ego tends to make everything about itself. Right? Like so you can even use like say your girl's like acting like anxious and upset, right? And a lot of times in those situations, we're like, oh, why can't she figure it out? Or why is she bringing her energy into this? And I do all these things or something like that, and she's still not happy, right? Something like that. Say you do a lot for your girl and she can't figure it out. And you start creating like a checklist of like, I do this, I don't feel appreciated. So you're making how she's feeling about you, and that's the ego, because then you're judging her in a lot of ways. So what you can do is like understand that it's not about you, and then you can then see the love in her as opposed to the anxiety in her. And I learned this is a really great tactic too, dealing with people who have like severe anxiety or anger, or just people in general that you meet in person, like hard, like rough people that just are angry all the time. If you can see the child in them, that love in them, we're mirrors. But if you only see the anxiety in them, if you only see the anger in them, that's all they're going to see within themselves. So what I try to do is like always try to make sure, like one of the things I always actually tell myself is keep your heart open. I always say, like, keep your heart open. If I feel it closing even a little bit, like I get frustrated with somebody or I get impatient with somebody, like I make it about me. And I'm like, right now that person's going through their own thing. So how can I see the love that they're trying? And so I see that they're trying their best, and that's the love I see in them. And then how can I support them as opposed to like making it about me? And that has worked profoundly with individuals that I've worked with relationships, all that kind of stuff. It's been really cool. Like, and then it's like simple things, like especially with women, like praising them is a really powerful way to get women to shift out of their negative thoughts and behaviors. Men, it's a little bit more about dialogue, I feel, and conversations. So yeah, it's just about learning how to see love in people and bring that out of them when they're having a moment instead of making it about ourselves.
And have you had clients that were parents that you've, I don't know, just take them through breath work and then they've reported back saying like, since we've been working together, I've actually been able to communicate better, or like our relationship's better, or
100%.
My toddler now isn't crying as much because I'm like getting down to their level. And,
yes.
Okay.
That's the biggest thing, is that because again, it goes back to leading by example. So all these parents actually end up teaching their children the breath work and how they regulate their emotions and how they sit with their emotions, how they can zoom out and hold space for themselves. Because that's what you're doing. You're essentially, instead of giving your person the iPad or distracting them with all bullshit, you're going into a place like you guys just did, and you created a space for your person to feel. And that's really cool. So that's where everybody needs to get to. So when we feel anxiety, when our children feel anxiety, we're like, all right, well, here's a space for you to feel these emotions. You're safe. Everything's okay. Let's have fun with it. Mm-hmm. And so teaching parents that how to regulate their emotions, most of the times if they're really gnarly and crazy, their children are really gnarly and crazy, right? Monkey see, monkey do. So as soon as they start becoming more present, more calm, more zen, and they start teaching this to their children pick up on it really, really quick. It's really cool. And couples that do this stuff together, it's a profound experience. When they're meditating together, you meditate with your partner in the morning, it's a whole nother ball game.
Where was this fucking information when I was a kid?
Was there?
It was always there. It's ancient shit,
I was
actually.
gonna say,
Yeah.
it's been there forever. We just
Well, we're in the Matrix, man.
Did Oprah have it at all? I watched a lot of Oprah as a kid with my mom. But I
mean,
remember
my
this.
parents would just yell at me.
Yeah, well, like
absolutely.
it's like it's just they didn't have the tools or the awareness, right? It's another thing too, and this is really far out stuff too, is like I acknowledge that there is a system that keeps you anxious and creates anxiety within this world, and this system also supplies you with never-ending amounts of stimulation for you to cope with this anxiety that they actually created. I believe there is a system, and I think that's a powerful thing to really pay attention to, not to become worried about it and not to give your power to it, but to simply be aware that there is a consumerism system that makes you anxious and then you consume, whether that be fucking actual buying product, your phone, porn, whatever the case may be. And so it's like this money loop that this business creates. And if they can pump out anxiety all day long, just pump out anxiety and make people feel less than and insecure and afraid, then it's all in the news all day long, fear. Here, you don't look good enough. Here's this, here's that. And at the same time, they're feeding you processed food and fucking garbage and getting you hopped up on every type of stimulation there is. It's a wonderful system to make a lot of money off of people, because all that stimulation is a coping mechanism. So I make that a big part of with my clients is, hey, I believe there is a system, and it's a very good system. It's been around for a long time, and it's neither good or bad, but it's there. And so pay attention to it. Like don't be played by it. Pay attention to the food that they provide. Pay attention to the shitty music that they provide. Pay attention to the shitty TV that they provide. Step outside of it, and then you're good to go.
You just said one of my favorite words that we've ever had on this podcast, porn. You because we've had discussions about this with different people, and different people have different ideas. Some guys don't think it's that big of a deal. Some people, like myself, because I got on it when I was young, I've been able to get rid of it, but I didn't realize it was a problem until a few years later, and it took me a while to get out of my porn addiction, and I'm thankful that I didn't. I'm thankful that I got out of that. But what have you noticed, or what is your take on men and porn use and how you see it affecting men and life, et cetera? And what are your suggestions?
Well, it's a heavy point of view. Porn, unfortunately, or not unfortunately, but just porn in general is of the probably lowest vibration to consume, I feel, because unfortunately, and I think this is a heavy topic, unfortunately, like one of the biggest businesses in the world is the trafficking of children and women. And those are the people that are in the porn industry. And so you're consuming a very, very, very low vibrational energy, and it's also synthetic. It's also desensitizing. That's why most people, when they watch porn, it does something to the brain where like regular sex all of a sudden becomes boring, and then they're watching something a little bit more extreme. Before you know it, you're watching like 10 dudes run a train on a girl. And before you know it, you're watching a donkey on a girl. And before you know it, you're watching, gay porn. You don't know if you're gay or straight. That's where it kind of goes. It kind of leads to. So, and also it's just of the most lowest vibration. None of those people want to be in that industry. Even if they think they do, they don't want to be in that industry. And so that's the type of, I think it's really important to understand your energy exchange with things every day too. That's something that I take very seriously within myself. Since everything is energy, another woo-woo thing, but everything is energy. I'm energy, you're energy, everything is energy. How are you exchanging this energy each and every day? Is it low vibration or is it high vibration? So porn is, I think, one of the lowest vibrations you exchange with every single day. So if you're going to give your energy to that, that's what you're going to get back, it's some dark stuff. So I think that's where that heads. So that was an easy switch for me. I was never really fully into porn, but I would still watch it every now and then. But soon as I learned about the trafficking of women and children and how they were funneled into the porn industry, it was like done. I was like, oh, never, fuck that shit. It was a very, very easy switch.
Yeah.
And so that was my big awakening with that. Up until then, I didn't think too much about it. I didn't think it was awful. Of course, I probably definitely enjoyed it multiple times. But as soon as I became aware of like that heavy stuff, it was an easy, like, just, okay, no go. It's just, like it was like done.
This guy, Rollo Tomasa, came on the podcast, and when he talked about it, I've never heard somebody mention it, but like it makes a lot of sense. He mentioned how it's like a form of sedation for men. I mean, even I noticed when I was in heavy porn use, I'd utilize it when I was like anxious or sad or whatever, and I'd just feel real, just like, just
giggity.
I can just go to sleep now. I don't want to do anything. You don't want to go work out. You don't want to do something hard. You don't want to get shit done. You just want to fucking be lazy, chill, and wallow in that shit, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, I think for a lot of, especially people who got on it young, my generation who managed that shit when they were teenagers, it's a total, this massive level of sedation that stops them from actually going after the real thing. Yeah. You're okay with that. So why do I need it?
That is a tough one for the generation that was kind of introduced to porn at a young age. Like I was lucky where I didn't have a computer. Porn wasn't, like the internet wasn't even a real fucking thing. Yeah, it was dial up. Nobody was doing that stuff. But I know friends that are like 10 years younger than me, and the first time they masturbated was to porn, which is wild. Imagine being a kid and the first thing you're doing is masturbating to like real adult sex, where the first time I did it, I didn't even know what happened. I'm like, what the fuck? I remember it happened, and I didn't know what happened, and I walked downstairs, my whole family was like watching The Simpsons, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, what the fuck was that? And then I like went back upstairs and did it again. That was like
I seen this episode. I'm gonna be
right back. And I remember coming back down again. I'm like, what the fuck was that again? I'm like, this is amazing. Like this is crazy. I was an animal for a few months after that, but like, I mean, it was all in my bedroom, and I didn't even have thoughts. There was no thoughts. So it was kind of a nice way to like, explore myself. I think a natural way to explore myself.
It's a natural way.
Yeah, it was hard for the kids that grew up with like the internet right in their face and that accessibility to like this type of information.
Yeah.
When you were in Los Angeles, did you get caught up in the system, do you feel like, at all?
I almost did. I felt like I got a bit over-sexualized because I think the whole world is over-sexualized, actually. I was married to Steph, and I remember a part of our relationship, I thought like, oh, I would be down to have an open relationship. I'd be down to bring women into this relationship. And I thought like I'd be okay with that. And then as I became, and we actually like tried it like once or twice. And I remember just, again, listening to my feelings. I remember eating afterwards. I'm like, oh, this isn't it. And I really sat with that as well. And then I just became aware of like what a divine union is and what that is all about, and like how special that can be, and like building that type of connection. And I realized like a lot of times what I was looking for through these other sexual adventures was a high. It wasn't actually a connection. And a lot of it had to do with ego. Right. And so once I kind of realized like, oh, that's not even a connection, it became very easy for me to no longer want that in my relationships at all, and would never even think about it. But I did have a part in my life where I thought I wanted those things, and I did explore those things, and I came out on the other side like, oh, hell no. This isn't part of the divine. And I think as you become more divine, as you become more love, and you and your partner are both elevating on that cosmic level, it's not even interesting. There's like regular sex with some person to come into your union, no fucking way. It just wouldn't even, you couldn't give someone to me. I'd be like, no, you can't. This is a sacred space. And for even you to be in here, I would have to like cosmically become like, intimate with you in all these different ways. And that takes all this time and all this love, and you have to be raising your vibration at that same time for you to, and why would I do that when I'd be doing that with my partner? Yeah. So, I think, in LA for a little bit, A little bit.
Was that during the time when you would post a lot of those drawings?
Yes.
Okay.
Not the drawings. Actually, that was another DMT trip. This is really far out. So I was.
Those drawings were sick, by the way.
I still love the
What are the
drawings.
drawings, man?
Are they still up there?
Yeah, Alpha
Okay.
Changling, I think it's called, or something like that. But this was actually a DMT trip. So I was over sexualized, and I was big on like always like, and it didn't come from a bad place. It really came from a very loving, innocent place. My woman was hot. I loved promoting it, but not. And I remember getting emails from people like, "You guys swingers?" And I'm like, "No." And I used to be almost offended by it. I didn't know I was giving out that type of information. I didn't know I was giving off that vibe. And so I smoked DMT one time, right? And it was one of my most profound trips. It was one of my most profound trips. It's when I became no longer like into that type of shit. And the image was Betty Boop. Black and white Betty Boop on DMT. Betty Boop walking through, and she represented Steph. And I'm like, okay. And she's super sexy. And I'm like, all right, yeah. And then she turns to me, and Betty Boop, who represented Steph, goes, "Why don't you keep some of this for yourself?" Was the message. When I was on DMT. And I was like, ooh, and I felt it. I felt it like on such a level. I was like, ooh. And I even felt like shame and guilt. And Betty Boop goes, no, you didn't know. You didn't know, but maybe just keep some of this for yourself. And it was wild. So at that very moment, for whatever reason, I was on DMT, but I opened my eyes, and you usually don't open your eyes on DMT. And Steph was actually sitting on the corner of my bed because she
was actually there?
She was there.
Okay.
Yeah, she was actually there. But and she was like this fucking golden shrine, like as bright as the sun, just radiating. And it was like the most beautiful experience of understanding like relationships and divine union and keeping this stuff sacred and taking it seriously. And that was the big shift for me when that DMT trip. It was wild. It was crazy that Betty Boop was like, "Yo, keep some of this shit for you, bro."
How many times have you done DMT?
In the beginning, I mean, I probably could give you a handful. I would say maybe like 25 times, probably.
Woo!
But I haven't done really psychedelics in a long time. It's I think I did them more in the beginning because they were my only way to like meditate. I didn't know how to do breath work. I didn't know how to do the other stuff. I didn't know anything about the cold plunge. I did cold plunge, but it was all for physical therapy shit, and I was just getting in and getting out type of stuff. So DMT was the way I was kind of meditating and going into that quantum field. So, but once I learned breath work, I haven't smoked DMT actually since I've done breath work. So, and I find myself very, very rarely even doing mushrooms.
Yeah.
Like, and if I do them, it's a microdose for me to like, go to Barton Springs and like lay out in the sun and just be a little bit more zen. But yeah, outside of that, I really don't mess around with psychedelics too much anymore. Oh my God, bro.
Shit.
So good.
Hey now.
Hannah looks like an asshole.
It is an asshole. So I love the humor of all this stuff. I would
They were always
and
really
the thing is, I still have this humor. It's just that now I became more mindful of like what it puts out there. That's what I mean. It's like just becoming more mindful, more self-aware. So just shit like this, like I probably wouldn't post anymore just in case like young men were watching and they don't know any better. So I had to just take more responsibility for myself and
Dropping the
hammer. Yeah, I used to put shit like that all the time, and I thought was like expressing my sexuality in a health way, but I was definitely putting off a vibe, and I was definitely over sexualized just by the culture itself. Oh, that's a nice one. That one I still would post actually. That's a cute one.
That's hilarious. Yeah.
I actually went through. I remember when I had that trip, I went down and I deleted so many pictures of stuff that I had up, and I remember reading them, even reading the context of like the post, and I was like, I can't believe I fucking put this shit up. I am crazy.
Now I remember. I remember seeing your profile. It was years ago.
It was wild.
Yeah. Because like up until this point, I'm like, oh, you're totally. I don't.
Yeah, you probably wanted to hit me up to have a swing fest. Like that stuff is still great. I like the cartoons. I mean, I wouldn't post it or share it anymore. But like
Stinger.
but like there was definitely a really cool shit.
Celebrating.
Yeah, like I would have that like in my house or something in like
So
the bathroom, like have that be bathroom art.
Make that an NFT.
Yeah. But mostly,
great
like, I realized like what I put out there does have an effect on people, and I don't want to be contributing to like some of this stuff, and so I had to just become more self-aware in how I operate.
On a really cool aspect of all this stuff, though, as far as breathing, I think that especially guys underestimate how big of an effect breathing can make on how long you last in bed. Like if you nut a little fast, and that has happened to me in the past before. If you get no, it has.
I got you.
I've been like 5 minutes, and I'm like, oh no, you know what I mean? But getting the breath in control, like when you know how to like breathe and slow down your breathing and nasal breathe, bro, you can marathon that
You
shit.
wanna know why?
Breathing. Yes, let's go.
Because you're present.
Well, that too.
That's why, because
Yeah.
you're not in your mind.
Yeah, that is true.
That's all it is. I always tell people, if you want to focus on having some wonderful sex, focus on the person. If you focus on her, it'll be cosmic.
But okay, so there is the aspect of focusing on her, but also if you're someone who's like taking short breaths, like you could be focusing on her and you could still be like "Ah!" right? That happens.
Fair enough.
Yeah, because she's gonna be really hot.
Yeah.
Exactly. But if you know how to take deep breaths into your diaphragm, slow that shit down, breathe into your nose, calm down, bruh,
Yeah, you're good.
opens up at least it opened up a new door for me.
Yeah, you can even do breath work with your partner during lovemaking.
She might be like, "What are you doing?"
It's like, yeah, you're all breathing heavy in her face and shit. She's like, just you ever seen that like video where it shows what she sees and it's like her bottom face making all these fucked up faces and
Right.
stuff. So yeah, I like to imagine us breathing all heavy on it, just like sweating.
There's so many good ones, dude. I'm sorry, I don't want to.
my goodness,
take
bro.
over, but
Those are the planets being anal butt
yeah,
plugs.
Saturn,
anal beads.
Anal
Moon,
beads.
Earth.
Yeah, man. I mean, I still love this shit.
That's so good.
I can't.
I'm
Oh
in
my
love with these,
lord,
dude.
bro.
If you guys are listening to this on audio, you're missing out on the video side
Oh,
of
they
this
can't
shit.
see this. I thought they were able to see
Well,
this.
YouTube will
YouTube
have
they
it,
will.
but
Oh, my
audio
goodness.
they won't. This is great.
Just everybody go follow Justin Lovato.
Oh my
and then
goodness.
scroll for a while.
Yeah, I have to scroll for years back.
You
But,
drew
yeah.
these?
No.
Oh,
I
okay.
wish I would have made
And then
millions.
this will just be the last one. I think this will really show and like really represent like the over sexuality of everything, just because of like
That reminds me of the guy from The Boys.
I think I even wrote what did I write? Heaven? What did I put there?
the good life.
The good life, of course.
Suffocating.
Jeez. But how many? It's so fun. Everybody loved this shit. I mean, everybody was
It's so
dying.
good.
And I definitely got the other part of the other side of it too. Where like, hey, I love how you celebrate your wife. It's really cool. It's beautiful. So I got that as well, which is what it was. Authentically, that's what it was. But
Can't show this one,
man,
One last. Oh my god!
Is that a holster? Is that like a
It's like
Yeah,
like
saddle.
a
There you
saddle?
go.
A saddle.
there's so many.
Fuck, dude! I found another one. I'm sorry.
Oh my god.
Andrew's having way too much fun now.
Dude,
Oh
it
my
used to be so
goodness.
much fun to see what you were gonna post.
Oh my! And then you fast forward to what I'm sharing now.
Yeah.
It is so funny. If anybody just scrolls down, like, who was this guy and who is he now?
Yeah, I don't know. It's YouTube, so I don't want to show this one. But if you can imagine a penis and a Cinderella gold slipper,
Hey man,
dude,
it's a perfect fit.
Yeah,
That's so great.
Sorry.
This artist was awesome. He was a good artist.
that was amazing.
Before we drop on out of here, just tell us a little bit about what you eat and
okay.
how that goes.
Okay,
And
so
where's the bowl?
yeah. The bowl I think is in my bag. If you did want to grab it.
Dig it. Yeah.
So the way I approach life is the same way I approach my food, with as much mindfulness as possible. So I try to pay attention to how much I'm consuming, where I purchase my food, how it's made, how it's prepared, because everything's energy. So I just try to be very mindful. Like, so if I do eat meat, I make sure it's from a regenerative farm or some type of small farm or a small local store. The same thing with my fruits and vegetables, local farms and stuff like that. And then I typically fast most of the mornings. What I just started recently doing, yeah, you can throw it right there. I just started recently doing is I really, after my breath work, is there like the little, oh, it is in there. Perfect. So I started doing a lot of papaya in the morning.
Papaya.
Yeah, I love papaya with
Delicious.
some lime. Yeah, I do papaya and blueberries after my meditation and my morning cardio. So I do my meditation, I do a little bit of stretching yoga, I go do about an hour cardio, and I do my live chat, and then I come home and I do my papaya, my blueberries, and if I feel like I want some protein, I'll maybe have like a shake. But usually it's just the fruit, and then I'll have some clients, and then I'll train, and then I'll have a huge smoothie, and that smoothie is like 3 scoops of protein, because it's usually the first kind of meal that I'm having, protein that I'm having, 2 bananas, raw honey, frozen blueberries, ginger, turmeric. What else? A whole avocado. Ooh. Yeah, it's like a huge smoothie. I can throw some greens in there too if I want. I think there might be 1 or 2 other things that I throw in there, but that's usually my first big meal of the day. And that's a pretty dense shake, you know. And then at night, it's usually another, a bunch of vegetables stir fry. And I usually have either shrimp or tempeh for my protein. And I just started incorporating red meat again once a week because I didn't really know where to get it from. I didn't want to buy from any of the type of farms that were mass producing animals and shit like that. So I found some regenerative farms as of lately, which is really cool. And so I've been actually adding that back in, and I feel really good on it.
What about some junk food? No?
Rarely. I don't really eat junk food. If you were to if you were to order a pizza, I'd have pizza with you. But
just so on a particular occasion, you might just eat something just because it's convenient and you're with other people.
That's only the time I do it. Yeah, I really don't have it in my house. But I also, it's not a thing. I don't think about. I really don't have a relationship with food, if that makes sense.
Did you ever? In the past?
The only time I did was after a little bit with bodybuilding, and it wasn't the fact that I had a relation with food. It was like I just wanted to eat a lot of it. It was almost like I had this habit of just like consuming as much as possible for a period of time. So I would like order 2 pizzas, you know what I mean, like, and destroy both pizzas. Yeah. It was like this really weird phase of like, oh, I'll get 2 of everything.
You gotta.
I'm still in that phase.
That sounds good.
But for the most part, yeah, it's like I don't think about the other food until someone goes, "Hey, man, like, you want to smoke weed and get a pizza tonight?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, all right, yeah, I'll smoke some weed and get a pizza tonight." And usually, still after I have it, though, I'm like, "Man, I probably would have rather had some vegetables and some like fucking sweet potatoes, if I'm being honest." So I'm like falling more into that more and more and less like junk food in general. Like I really don't, I'm not a sweets person. So I'm really lucky there. I'm a salty person. So I like, if you put a bag of chips in the house, I'll crush it. Crushed chips all day long. I like pizza, but chips and French fries is probably my favorite food as far as junk food goes. My favorite food though is Thai food. I really like, so Thai food would be like my junk food choice. I probably would go with Thai food. Yeah.
I love Thai food too. I always eat way too much of it every time.
Yeah, I always get 3 dishes. I always get the red curry. I love the red curry.
That shit's good also.
I always get the pad thai, and I always get the spicy papaya salad. I get everything really spicy too.
You ever fuck with those Thai desserts, like it's like the fucking sticky rice,
the mango and sticky rice.
Oh yeah, that's really good.
That I will fuck with any day. You bring that over, I'll have that. Yeah, for sure.
Pretty much every episode ends this way, where we're just talking about the food that we want. Yeah,
that's dope.
After telling people to not eat for like an entire
episode. Yeah. That's funny. Yeah, I'm a potato person though. I'll cook potatoes every day.
Nice. So what like is that a certain brand? Like, because I want to say like I had my sister-in-law got like what we thought was that, and like she couldn't get it to work, and it was like really cheap or something. But as far the bowl, I mean,
this,
yeah.
It's a person actually I ordered off of Etsy.
Sick.
Yeah,
Etsy. I've been digging on Etsy for a while now. It has a lot of good shit.
Yeah, I try not to do Amazon too much. Let me find out the person who I order mine from. Let me see. I just ordered 2 more sound bowls.
That bowl can double as a hat too, I think.
Oh yeah,
and some food.
Yeah, throw some food in there. Fruit salad.
Chakra Drum is the name. Chakra Drum. CHAKRA Drum. Chakra Drum. Yeah, and I have like a really big one. I just ordered 2 more.
Oh wow!
So I have all 7 now, which is really cool.
So what does this help with? It was really cool when we were doing that breath work. I wasn't sure what was going on because I was hearing shit coming, like vibrating on both sides of my head. I didn't even realize that was what you were doing. But what does that do? Because you see a lot of people utilize that. So what's it supposed to do?
So these again, it's gonna be woo-woo. Heads up. These are all different frequencies, and we are probably closer to sound than we are to matter, I would say. If you believe in the stuff we're talking about, as if you were a loving awareness, a energy, a vibration. So you can use these to really elevate your sense of well-being. And some of these, or most of these, are designed to be a specific frequency for a specific energy center, or what you call a chakra. So there's 7 energy centers, and they are real. They are a real thing. They've realized like what frequencies really resonate with each individual energy center. So this one particularly is the root chakra, and I have all 7 of them. So when I go from round to round normally, I'll start off with this one, and then the next one, and then the next one, and the next one. I play each one as we go through each 7 rounds, because there's 7 rounds of breath work.
Yeah.
So just to cover all those aspects. And some people, again, woo-woo stuff, if can be blocked essentially. And as I mentioned, a lot of people are more so blocked in their first 3, because they're like what they say are the primitive 3 before you became self-aware, before you became aware of like loving awareness, right? Or else we were just savage animals before, right? And so we operated from these 3 based on survival and security and all these type of things. So most people are still like kind of blocked there. So like they can use these sounds to move energy, because you can move energy with sound. And so that's what this is doing in a lot of ways, is moving vibrations and sound and energy throughout your body. And you can use things like sound bowls to kind of get those things moving.
I want to add in, because you're mentioning the woo-woo aspect of that, but like you've heard of like binaural beats.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
shit.
Exactly. It's the same exact thing. Like there's been research to show what helps people focus, helps people sleep. There's a whole app based off it. I know Andrew Huberman's talked about it quite a bit, but like this app Brain FM, it has different things you can listen to.
Yeah, so that's what this is, just
different
by
hertz.
hand. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. So it's not woo-woo at all.
Yeah, this stuff's really great. I mean, conscious music, I call it, was a profound change in my life as well. You know, paying attention to the frequencies songs use is a big one, because some songs, if you don't pay attention to what hertz they're playing at, they actually can make you a little anxious without you realizing it. And so it's good to pay attention to like the music that you're listening to, the words, the lyrics, the intentions behind those things. Obviously, we like some ratchet shit when we do that kind of stuff, but it's wild. Like I used to listen to a lot of that stuff, and then again, it was like from this space that is a little bit angry, right? And it can be used as a tool, that anger and that type of, you know, in that way. But then when I started training with love, I'm a lot stronger. A lot stronger, and I can go a lot farther when I'm training to conscious loving music. And what I like to do is, a lot of times if I find a song that I like to like not know the name of the song, and then figure out what that song makes me feel, and then like give it a word. And then usually when I look up the name of the song, it matches usually what I felt. So you can tell like, okay, when music tries to actually speak to you, what is it saying? So I changed my relationship with music about 3 years ago as well, and everybody loves my music. I'll play. How'd you guys like the music today?
I want to ask, like, is that like a playlist? Like,
Yeah,
what is that style of music called, so people can search it? And people, I mean me.
I don't know what you would call it. I think you would call it conscious music or loving music or something like that, meditation music. But I have a bunch of playlists with some really great stuff. I can send you guys all the playlists.
Yeah, please, because that shit was cool.
Yeah, it's really
liked it
dope,
a lot.
right?
I'm just like instantly started thinking about like playing it for my son.
Oh
You know,
man,
like,
it's
and then
amazing.
hopefully getting good at playing that.
Meditation music, yoga music. If you just ask your phone to play it, it will play stuff that's a little similar to that.
Similar to that,
Yeah.
yeah.
Spotify probably.
I like
has a
listening
few
like to
playlists.
that like shaman, like rainforest type stuff
Yeah.
too, where you can hear
Yeah.
them chanting and
Get a
stuff.
sound bowl for your kid. I'm telling
Yeah.
you, like you can have whenever they're freaking out, just have them sit down, be like, "Hey man, let's do some deep breaths," and just play a sound bowl for your kid. Boom, like it's really cool. Yeah, like it's really simple stuff. Did you guys want to play? it on
Yeah.
here?
So if you can just like rotate the microphone, and then I'll open it up, and then just like if you can more.
Oh, you can just move it like that. Okay, wasn't sure. I'm gonna break it. All right, that should be probably good enough.
Good spot.
Yeah, I'll mess with it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Power project first, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, unbutton your pants.
We're getting away from that. Remember?
Oh, see, yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna go deep with it.
No pun.
Power project first going on here today, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, I can imagine like how many people watching this are like, "What the fuck are these?"
Close your eyes right now and just let it. That's nice. It continues. I didn't really. Yeah, that's sick.
Really cool, right? I know. It's wild, man. Like it sounds kind of funny, but like when me and my homies all hang out at the crib, we just chilling, listening to good music, and then like someone will just grab one and then they'll just start playing it, and before you know it, there's like two of my friends just like laying on the floor with their eyes closed. Mm-hmm. And then someone else grabs one, and before you know it, they're like in a different fucking dimension just from the sound bowls. And they're just like, and they come back to like, holy shit. And I'm like, you want to go again? And I'm like, all right, well, fucking peace out again. And they just like, womp, and they disappear. They come back, and it's like,
so
it's just,
cool.
it's
That's
dope
so
as
cool,
fuck.
I'm
dude.
getting one of those.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
They're really cool. You guys definitely got to come down to the house sometime in Texas. We'd love to have all of you, and I could show you what's up at the crib and stuff like that. We can do the whole thing, the breath work, the cold plunge, all of it. It'd be really fun. The microdosing, be a good time.
Heck yeah. And then so like how can people do the breath work at home?
So I created a really awesome program. I have a program that is literally what I put you guys through today. It's not a loop. It's fully guided. I breathe with you. I count you down, all that kind of stuff. It's a 55-minute program. And they could just contact me and purchase it through me directly. Find me on my email or my Instagram, stuff like that. And actually this week that I'm in LA, I'm actually recording another program, another 55-minute one, but also a 30-minute one for people that don't have enough time, and then also a 10-minute one.
Nice.
That'll be really cool. That ones that are like, so I'll have a few different lengths of choice for people, because sometimes it's short on time and we just need like a quick moment, on a lunch break or some shit, when we're dealing with a shitty boss or something. So so that's hopefully to get a few more programs out this next week or so. But I have one that's really good. It's really profound. It's really awesome stuff, and everybody can really benefit from quieting the mind and tapping in.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for taking time away from your life and what you have going on there in Texas and coming and seeing us. Appreciate it.
Man, I couldn't wait to come on, to be honest. Like, and that's another thing it sounds woo-woo again. I've been asking for the universe for people to like be able to see me and what I'm doing, because it does come from a really good place. I really do want to help as many people as possible, just be their best version, their best selves. And I really think this is a great way for people to lock into this kind of stuff. So I've been like trying to get the universe to have me be seen a little bit more, just so I can help more people. So I really appreciate you having me on here and let me like really talk about the stuff that's truly important to me.
Take us on out of here, Andrew.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody, for checking out today's episode. Please drop us a comment down below on, we gave you a lot of stuff to talk about today, so you got plenty of options. I want to hear everything you guys have to say. Tell me everything that's on your mind. And make sure you guys like today's video and subscribe. If you guys are not subscribed, turn on all those bell notifications, and so that way you guys don't miss anything. Please follow the podcast at MB Power Project on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. My Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter is at I am Andrew Z. Nsima, if people want to yell at you, where can they do that?
Comment down below, actually, what Andrew said. But if you're in the Discord, go on the episode discussion channel. Let us know what you guys were thinking, because this was a really cool one. This was a really
Fantastic.
cool one. At Nsima Inyang on Instagram and YouTube, at Nsima Inyang on TikTok and Twitter. Justin, where can they find you?
Probably IG is probably the best way. Justin D. Lovato. And then my email, justin.mytwocents, mytwocents @gmail.com.
I got to make myself do some of that breathing tomorrow.
I'll give you the program. You're going to love it. It's fucking, I'm telling you, it is life changing when you get quiet every day.
I loved it. It got weird a couple times.
Yeah.
I was like, did I get knocked out?
I was so pumped
Again?
watching you guys, because I was like, I was like, did they have too many monsters today or something? I was like, I wonder if they were like just too, like, you just finished working out too, and I had that thought too, because I've done breath work after I worked out, and it's a little tough.
You thought we were going to like get up and be like, that was bullshit.
I didn't think that too much, because I know you and I know your style, and I love how you are actually interested, and you really wanted to like see what it was all about, and I felt that. So I wasn't too worried about that. I just wanted you to have the most fulfilling experience. So I had some things, but then I told myself, I'm like, get rid of that thought, bro. Like, let's fucking get these guys to take the fuck off. I'm like, I'm going to get these guys to take off. And so that's where I went in with it, and you guys took off. So it was really dope.
Yeah, take off we did, because I got to do that shit again.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm at Mark Smelly Bell. Strength is never weakness. Weakness is never strength. Catch you guys later.
See ya.
Bye.